Hello, friends, and welcome to another Wonder Twin Power Hour. SteakDora the Explorers show you the world. Some sort of name that we haven't figured out yet. That's
Our brand is hard to pin down. It's mysterious.
yeah. We still haven't figured that out, and I've had no time to do any major work on this, so no changes as of yet.
Well.
Yeah, I really have. And it's probably only going to get slightly worse.
Slightly worse.
Oh boy. But yes, so this is going to be week 1 or 2 in our nomenclature, meaning it is the second video after week 1 has happened. And that means, since it is the second video, we'll be looking at a couple of teams. I hope you people, or a couple of games, I mean, and I hope you people appreciate this. I'm currently missing game 1 of my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. It's happening right now. I'm even wearing the shirt, or the jersey, to commemorate. So you better appreciate our work here, because I'm missing something great. But yes, we're going to look at a couple games, one from each of the divs, and then some results, and probably start doing our predictions. So that's pretty cool. Because we didn't do
because we were lazy and didn't do it last week. Yeah.
Well, they weren't. The comp hasn't started when we did the the preview last week, so we didn't know what the matches were.
I meant more that we could have done it afterwards, but we chose not to.
I mean,
you were busy.
I suppose that's true. I don't know. It never really occurred to me that we could have done so. Oh well, we'll miss one week. Shall we just go? I mean, I think we're ready to go. The first game I will bring us in there is going to be the Red Joker and ArchXL, so Fear and Bloating versus Not an Anime Sports Team.
Yep, and Fear and Bloating, as you'll see in a second, has chosen to go on defense first, and the fame rolls were a 2, a 1, +8, and 1, 1, +9, so neither team has...
Good job, us. Very bad rolls. I am ready to press play if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Some pretty tall Nurgle here for sure, but the high elves are nothing to sneeze at either. The movement bust on the killer is going to be pretty relevant here, but he's also got the unbelievably good sacker of Gish Mulgores in plus agi, plus strength, rest of the time.
Yeah, and he's got a good ball carrier too in Tradagore. Looks like the elves did win the coin toss, and they've elected to go on offense first. Probably not surprising with the kind of offensive tools they have, multiple plus strength players. And here we go.
Changing weather canceled by the Magic Dome. And a deep kick for the elves to deal with.
It's fine for the elves.
Yeah, they're happier with that than they would be with a shallow kick, certainly.
Yeah, they don't want to get involved with all these Nurgle players. We start with one block, and then we're going to block the other zombie. And stay away
electing
from
not to block the beast. It is stand firm, so it is scary certainly to pile elves on it, and you're very unlikely to get any sort of reasonable damage out of it, so I think that's a sensible decision.
Yep.
Both to put it on the line and to not block it. Well, immediately fails his attempted vanity pass and does not reroll. So not even going to get a blitz this turn.
Nope. I mean, it doesn't really need... What are you going to blitz? One of the Nurgle Warriors?
Pretty dicey business.
No, then you'd be likely to get punched back by one of the many Claw Mighty Blow pieces that exist. And Claw is relevant because they're high elves.
Well, they don't have stand firm, so a push would be good enough, but a 1 in 9 or I'm too ugly to hit would rather immediately demand a reroll, which would be pretty unfortunate.
Then they'd also be adjacent to, like, they'd be pretty exposed to really easy, like, not very risky blitzes by the Nurgle players.
Yeah, I mean, it must be said, some pretty high-value players are currently available. He gets to stick his beast on this nice plus-strength blitzer. Of course, plus-strength helps him get out of it. But we are going to see, I think, a tackle blitz come in on this Blodge movement up guard lineman. Yeah, it's a real juicy target. It is a 3.
So piling on Mighty Blow tackle, 3 die. So, and it's pretty safe to pile on here.
Yeah, I mean, the high elves are not really very fouly, so...
And,
though even high elves, I think, would probably foul this guy.
Yep.
Did need the Mighty Blow to break armor, chose to pile on despite that, so...
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to do anything standing there, really, and he's not going to get fouled. It would be a terrible foul, so...
Ooh, and then ArchXL immediately...
Yeah, you're ahead.
Oh, will pause.
There it is. Well, that's not a good start.
Nope. Snake's the first dodge of the turn.
That's not... So far, he has rolled three ones on things that could turn him over. Rolled a 1 on the pass, rolled a 1 on the dodge, re-rolled it into a 1. This is going to leave a couple claw hits open for the Nurgle. At least one, another one from a blitz, and then we'll have a mighty blow from the beast if he elects to take it. And I think he probably would if I were him, because it's not really going to accomplish anything where it is, so you might as well take the mighty blow.
Yeah, you want to keep it on the strength 4. It's pretty easy for him to get away, but it is still a...
Yeah, and right now he's doing nothing, so you might as well take the mighty blow hit. Just do it at the end.
So I'm actually not going to have any claw hits because...
Well, he took 1. He just didn't knock anybody over with it.
Oh, that's true. Down here, yeah. RHXL is instead choosing to... Oh, no, not going for the ball. Never mind. They're just kind of sending his best sacker a little away.
An expedition towards the ball. And then we see
not
all the
getting a
blocks
lot
that
of
don't matter.
knockdowns. Things going the High Elves' way in the sense that despite being based, they really didn't take that many...
Neither player is rolling the dice they want right now. Although, certainly, it would be hard to argue that the Nurgle are not... Or it would be easy to argue that the Nurgle are in a better position.
Yes.
However, they're not getting the dice they want in terms of knockdowns.
Immediately
Chaos.
pows a Nurgle Warrior.
Bonk.
Gets a stun. That's a pretty big deal. This leaves this right-hand side incredibly unprotected. Probably going to see a blitz come in on the killer, and then the High Elves could consider moving up this side.
Yeah, the Nurgle have committed pretty hard to one side now, and with that stun on the Nurgle Warrior, we can split the Nurgle off from the team very well. I mean, I understand what the Nurgle were doing, I think, but I think it might have been a little bit too greedy.
Yeah, they tried to go a little too wide, and I think they spread themselves a bit too thin. And they tried to take advantage of the fact that their opponent was based like this. But, oh, and there's another fail. He can hit stuff. He's got 2 really lucky armor breaks this turn, but he has really not been doing the dodges very well.
Well, he finally gets a hold of the ball and makes a dodge.
And then promptly rolls another 1. He has failed 4 out of 5 dodges.
He also
so far,
rolled double 1s for the armor.
Man, that's a lot of 1s.
Yep, he passed the tentacles, though.
Starting to feel like the Super Bowl again.
It's worth noting that it was off tackle, and that's why it was a turnover.
Yes. Yeah. Oop. Tackle has done something 3 times this game so far, and it's turn 3. It's pretty good.
Get the ball carrier back down, at least slightly more of a threat. Ball carrying Pestigor, that is. The sacker could go for it here, and he looks like he's going to. It involves a dodge or 2, but he is agi
Cut
4.
some corners, yeah.
Throws the reroll at it, and we're gonna get a 2-die on the ball carrier with our wrestle tackle here.
Gets a pow. Who needs wrestle or tackle and an armor break?
Well, that's handy.
It's been busting real easy this game,
Surely not Kaijo.
and
Keijo.
casually picks it up.
Easy peasy. Oh, and there we go. Now the damage is beginning.
Of course, as a Rodder, 1 die. Or no, that was a 2 die. Do you just... Yeah. Oh no, he just chose the boat down because he wanted a chance at damage, and he got it.
Yep. And it's not like there's not much else he really was going to do. He still hasn't stood up the guy that like piled on forever ago, has he?
Oh, needed a reroll, but does get the ball down.
Oh,
and an injury, but it looks like it regened. Jesus, you guys are just beating the shit out of each other.
that is a regen.
And a pretty clutch one at that. An MNG on that piece in this game would be oof.
Just taking turns sacking the ball, picking it up afterwards.
I mean, this is a big deal. The scatter in particular means that Arch is going to have to commit some players backwards to even recover the ball. So, oh, he's just going to dodge out from tackle. All right, he's going to... No, I'm not. Unfortunately, though, he does finally roll a 1.
Near.
And Jesus Christ.
Another 1 on dodges. Like, his dodges have been so bad.
Yeah.
At least the scatter's about as good as you could have asked for. It's in at least 1 tackle zone.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible. Like, it's not terribly easy for the Nurgle to push it away without dodges.
So now Arch is permanently down a player, so he does not have a bench for this game. Any damage the Nurgle can cause will result in a numbers disadvantage. That catcher is not the scariest thing, but it does mean there's no more surfing threat from the high.
Now the question is, do you move away that ball carrier to go after the ball and kind of leave your backfield open, or do you try to carry on someone else?
Another mighty bloodless break into a KO.
Well, now the injuries are showing up for Nurgle, or the removals are showing up for the Nurgle player. Get another block over by the beast, and we follow it to activate the beast for really stupid if we want to make another block.
I don't think you block with a beast here. You'd be preying on a POW on a player that you really want to.
I don't think you do, but he had the option.
Arms. Casually getting the 3+ pickup.
So he does go for the ball with that player. It leaves his backfield pretty open. There's one Pestigore down that way if the High Elves can sack it, but based on the number of removals that have occurred, I think this was a good idea.
Elects not to reroll the tentacles. Sensible, I think. Okay, we're getting some backfield options.
One die on the ball.
Wrestle one die. That is good enough. That'll take it down. That's a terrible scatter for the elves.
Yep, we can try to rescatter it though.
We are. And that's worse.
Yep, I don't know if it's yeah, I don't know if it's worse, but it's certainly just as bad.
Just as bad, yeah.
Yeah, the good news is if the Nurgle are probably in a better position than the elves here, and if they happen to fail to pick up, it could scatter out, and that could be really good for you as the elves, but that's you're kind of hoping for a miracle there.
And now if you're the Red Joker, you just never activate this beast again unless the Strength 4 manages to get off.
Yep. Well, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy for the Strength 4 to get off, honestly.
It's still a 42% chance to fail, I think. Something like that.
Well, it's only a 1 strength difference, so it's the same as Strength 4.
I think that's 42%. It's like, I think it's a 7+, basically, or an 8+.
The Nurgle have rolled a Snake Eyes on a dodge for...
They have, yeah. High Elves continuing their Bash Fest, but not getting anything for it, unlike the Nurgle.
It's a good question.
Good shot of recovery here because of the Agi 5. The Agi 5 can just kind of, well, could have just ran through these tackle zones, but elected not to instead. The guard down here did make it challenging, admittedly, for ArchXL to get anything done. Casual 1-die POW. Casual break on the killer.
Easy. Well, that's handy. We now have scoring threats, and since the killer is stunned, we have 1 Nurgle warrior available to do any sort of blitzing down there, and it turns out he can only hit 1 player if he wants to.
He's not going to do blitz, it looks like.
Oh,
and currently the Red Joker has only 1 tackle remaining on the field because of stuns and such.
Look, I imagine he's going to go after the ball, probably with the ball carrier.
Yeah,
Pestigore.
But that is a 2-die looking for a POW, so not great. Now, he can't follow this up because of his ordering here, but it does mean the Beast can probably go hang out with these 2 players, yeah.
It's a replay, Cleric, yes. They're not playing really fast, we're just watching the replay. Off we go, here comes the 2-die.
Casual POW, Blodge is a lie, etc., etc.
And Blodge we trust
that scatter is great for the elves. It's out of GFI range, so that he can't even... Nope, yeah.
Follower is followed, welcome. We are going to re-roll the GFI to foul that elf, which is certainly
if you
good.
Don't do this, you're in... And protest rolls 2-2.
And accomplishes nothing with it. I mean, I certainly like that play, because as of right now, it was your best chance to stop the elves from scoring. Right now, he dodges out, picks it up, and he can throw it to someone.
I mean, it's a tough throw, even for Agi 5, it must be said. And
it doesn't particularly matter, though. It's more about...
it matters for the catch.
Well, it's less about scoring and more about preventing your opponent from scoring, I think, at this point, and just hurling it down the field, even if it doesn't catch, is probably fine.
Oh, he's just gonna go. Oh, he's just covering the ball, I guess, to make sure your opponent doesn't score. Yeah, that's sense.
And here
Gets
we go.
the pickup, runs to space. Well, very limited space. Oh, he's just gonna screen it off. Okay.
That works too.
There is a Nurgle warrior in blitzing range, but it is a double GFI, needs a POW.
Yep. Double GFI needs
and he moved him immediately, so I guess he's going after the scoring threats instead of the.
That's another option. Although the problem is the if by marking, I assume you're going to be blitzing him.
If you're blitzing, still not Megalobox.
Yeah,
no, you
need,
can't get an assist.
You don't have an assist now, and if you just mark him, he has leap. Unless we're dodging.
But I think the idea here is that he's gonna cover him. He's gonna cover him with another player because it's just trying to make the catch harder, right? Like it's really far.
Yeah, it's
a really far pass either way. Yeah, and so this is gonna be a pretty tough catch.
It's currently in double stink as well. And the pass is gonna have to be in stink as well.
I don't like taking that block. That player was tied up, and
he's not.
Like if you had gone really stupid though, you could have handed off to that player.
The elves have to score now though. It's turn 8, so and he was not in scoring range. So handing off to him was useless.
You could have handed off to him, and then he runs it down and passes to someone who is to make the pass easier.
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually better because of the amount of
disturbing presence doesn't fucking matter. Easy game.
Not a problem.
I'm gonna have to go back and look and see what that roll was, or what the needed roll there was.
Don't skip your animations so you don't get ahead.
I ain't doing shit.
I think it was RchXL says it was a 4+, so that's pretty reasonable, honestly.
What? No, it's not.
RchXL said it was a 4+.
But yeah, he could have, if he had gone really stupid there, RchXL could have instead like gone there, down, thrown a 2+ catch, 2+ pass, or like maybe done it in like a much less risky fashion. If that beast had really
the pass was a 4. The pass was a 4+.
Yeah, I know, but he wouldn't have needed to make a 4+ pass if that liner had that lino had been like.
I don't know. It would have been more dice, and the handoff and the pass still would have been in smell.
Oh, the handoff might have been in a lot of smell. I'd have to go back and look. If the handoff was in enough smell, it probably wasn't worth it. I forgot that it influences handoffs as well.
It influences catches, and a handoff is just a catch roll. You just want to make a pass.
Yeah. And beasts have it even when they're stupid, so.
Yep. Or on the floor. And it was a chance at a knockout, which he got, so I think it was probably fine. That is a touchback. Not that it particularly matters.
A super relevant one? Yeah, the Nurgle probably aren't going to one turn here.
I doubt it.
Does give them a better shot at a vanity pass, I guess. On their 51 SPP sacker, so not the biggest deal.
No.
Could have made that a 3-die. No real reason not to. Probably should have. Does potentially cost him a Claw Mighty Blow hit, I should say. The killer going in once again. Still only finding a stun, it looks like.
We do find the armor break though, and he has not used piling on, so he could. Oh, that's not the piling on guy. Oh, it is. So he could pile on the KO, but that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean the RchXL doesn't. Oh, the RchXL does have a babe. I might have been tempted. It's risky.
And there was a Nurgle warrior near enough to the beast, so like the handoff would have been a 4+ catch and then a pass and a catch. Like it's just inserting an extra roll, basically. I think what would have happened.
Yeah, there. I mean, like it only would have made sense to do it like I described if you could have made like something a 3 instead of a 4.
And I think
getting rid of a 4+ is a big deal.
Yeah, obviously. But I think all it would have done would have just added a 2+. Instead of a 4+, 2+, it would have been like a 4+, 2+, 2+.
Exactly, yeah, but that's only because of Stink.
Yes, Stink is a thing. There's a Vanity Pass, although we had to reroll for it. Not that it really matters.
And a foul. Big old foul on a Wrestle Lino. Gets a KO and a send-off, so.
Well, that's 2 send-offs and 2 fouls.
The Nurgle have a lot of Rotters, though, so I don't think they're too sad about that.
No, against elves, Nurgle don't particularly care. Like, you're probably, as long as you're up players, if it's one of those terrible games where, like, you just can't break armor and for some reason they do, it can be bad because you really can't go down players to, like, elves since their players are just better than yours. But if you're already up, you might as well keep going with it if you have a bench of Rotters, so...
Yeah, I was doing a lot of fouling in my game versus Underworld this week because I was down my killer and they had a claw palm piece, and I got a pitch invasion on turn 1 that stunned their claw palm on the line. So I was like, oh well, this is gravy. I can gang foul with 30 player on turn 1, stun send off. Turn 2, gang foul, stun send off.
Good.
Rolled 3 doubles and 4 sets of dice. I was really, really pleased. Kind of put me on the back foot for the rest of the game because their claw palmer was getting removals from the floor.
So the elves are now down 2 players. 2 of the KOs have come back. And it is 1-0 for the elves after their drive. So we're going into the Nurgle drive. However, the elves still have their wizard available. And since there is only the one, like, really super carrier for the Nurgle, there is the Agi guy, but he has Wrestle. So it's slightly more vulnerable to carry the ball on him. The wizard could do a lot of work defensively here, which could potentially turn this into a 1-0 or a 2-0.
The wizard is very hard for the Nurgle to deal with effectively. Magic Dome once again stopping the weather from being very nice, even though it already is very nice.
My strategy as Nurgle is against wizards is to generally just ignore it and cage up and pray that they're dumb and use a fireball. And 50% of the time it works, and 50% of the time the fireball breaks armor on all 5 players. And then you're sad.
Yeah, I experienced the bombastic fireball this week in Clan. Didn't need that assist. Gave it anyway.
Claw Palm's so OP, it removes 2 players without hitting them. Yeah.
I know, right? I was definitely not salty about that. But it's okay. We got a 2-2 tie in the end, and there was no real damage, so it was fun. We both traded really stupid things on the same turn, which was...
The piling on resulting in nothing. It's certainly... He's not protected, so it's certainly really tempting to foul him, but you just can't afford it as the elves right now, I don't think.
I'm gonna hop back to US East and see if that's better for my camera. My camera was not having a good time.
Oh.
It seems better on US East again. You know, Discord servers, they're always a bit fucked.
Yep, and Skype is terrible, and the only good options for video conferencing cost money. What are we laughing at?
I'm assuming something funny is about to happen.
Quote what, man?
RGXL's like, oh, you pile on in my half? You're gonna be brave like that? I'm gonna
he's gonna foul. He's gonna go foul, yeah.
Fouling with 10 players? At 9 even?
Well, I was gonna say you could dodge out this guy and foul it, and it looks like that's what he's gonna do.
Never mind. It looks like it went fine. Good foul.
There you go. Excellent. Perfect. I love it.
Still got a removal. One last removal before he shipped off this mortal coil.
Perfect. Failed the regen too. One less killer. Man, that's frustrating as the Nurgle player though. Like, you need those guys to win, and they're not that they're not terribly difficult to build up, but your Pestigors are generally so specialized. Like, this guy's a sacker, this guy's a carrier, this guy's a guard piece. So now he has to build up a killer from level 0 rather than like 1 or 2, which is what you could do with like a chaos team, for example. Like, oh, this guy's suddenly a killer now, I'll just switch. The bad news about this...
It does mean that there's a beast on 4 players.
Yeah, I was going to say the bad news about this is we can put the entire elf team on a Beast of Nurgle.
It was one of those plays, RGXL, that's like totally validated by the results. Like, which is a terrible argument, of course, but you're like, that was probably a bad play until you saw the dead pop up, and you're like, that was the best play anyone has ever made.
Yeah, the downside is your entire team is now based.
What could go wrong? There's no killer now.
That's true.
The 2 other claw mighty blows.
Yeah, it's satisfying to see a Nurgle killer die, certainly, but like, it's so annoying to rebuild them as Nurgle because you have to. And
foul appearance on the first block, resulting in an immediate reroll.
That feels great as the Nurgle player.
But it gets a break on the beast for it, so.
I mean, the loner is not free; he is based, but I mean, he's basically free. He's an elf.
All elves are constantly basically free.
It's just a 4+, or it's a 3+ dodge to wherever you want.
And second foul appearance.
You're
Stinky
slightly
boy.
ahead. Steam chat, but does it allow us to do video? Is the question. So he does mark up the ball carrier. I mean, and that's fine. He's a loner. We don't particularly care about him, and this means.
Oh, that's good because I think he's about to die.
Well, I was gonna say this commits the blitz from the Nurgle player, right? Like, it just means you have to blitz this guy now. I mean, he got KO'd for it, but you're not blitzing any of the valuable players now. But like, that's really funny. Nurgle Warrior's just like, oh, mark me up, will you? Thump. There, you're gone. I'm gonna go play with these other elves. Just kicks the elf and then runs away. We tend to use video, and like the audio is fine. It's just the video is being a little choppy with Discord, it seems.
Yep. Oh, and a fireball immediately.
Here's the
fireball.
Well, you're ahead. Here's the fireball. Bonk. So we do knock over. That opens up a sack on the ball, certainly, and we do get a KO on the one of the other claw muddy blow piece. So suddenly this Nurgle team is looking a lot less deadly with only one claw mighty blow on the field.
I'm just gonna keep server hopping until I find one where you don't sound like a robot. I just think Discord's having troubles on all servers today.
Oh, there's the sack that we said could come, and it resulted in an injury. Oh man.
Oh, you're actually ahead of me now. But that's okay.
We regen, thankfully for the Nurgle, but like this game flipped on its head real fast. The Nurgle were in a great position. The elves were failing a lot of things first half, and now suddenly
I think broadly speaking, if you talk to the Red Joker, he would be unhappy with the regen rolls he's gotten so far.
I would say so. Well, I mean, that's not true. If all three of those like injuries, I mean, I guess you would have wanted to regen the death, but
that's what I'm saying.
If they were all deaths or perms that were terrible, then the one that you want to die the most, I guess, is the killer. The other two are harder to build up.
This is just a brutal game of breaks all around, really.
Well, Nurgle did like outbash the elves certainly really hard in the first half, and then suddenly, turns out whoever's on like offense just loses this game. That's what's happening. If you're on offense, things go terribly for you in this game.
Casual 4 dice with tackle, not getting anything done.
Nope. Push, and really stupid to keep the beast on the floor.
Basing up Agi 5, Agi 5 leap doesn't really get a whole lot done.
Not really. But it was less about basing and more about punching him.
Yeah, I know, but he brought the Rodder over.
Well, now he has to leap instead of dodge, and he doesn't have a free leap reroll.
He's just gonna dodge straight backwards through tackle zones because he's Agi 5.
But he's on. Oh, the Rodder is not tackle.
You can just the first one would. I guess if the first one has no reroll, you might as well leap. It's better. You're right. I forgot that this was a tackle piece.
Yeah, he is tackle, so you don't get a reroll off the first one, but you could get a. If you bring in the Rodder, it means that he doesn't just get the free 2+ with a reroll dodge. He now has to either spend a reroll or leap. So I think that's probably fine. Although it's incredibly likely that the elves score here. He's just gonna leap away and then just go pass it. Here you go. Have the ball.
It's a good little like hiccup.
And every leap animation except for like War Dancers is awful. They just go huh, and like don't move and just kind of hop.
My favorite is the vampire who just kind of like floats up and floats over. Not in a cool way, just cheerleaders dancing on the fireball square. That seems pretty cool.
Some of the big guy leap animations are funny because they're like they just look because it's the same stupid hop, but it's like a death roller doing a giant hop. It looks really dumb.
Yeah.
Well, the
KO's coming back. Yeah. What about the high elves?
All of them returned. In my Imperium game earlier, I had my one wood elf knocked out on like turn 3, and then he failed 4 KO rolls and just never came back.
No, the Underworld were very kind to me injury-wise, and the time I was stupid, and it was like, oh, this is a 3 red die surf attempt if he wants to try it. but it wasn't a 3 red die because I can't count. And then my opponent forgot to take away an assist, so he just like clicked player, immediately clicked ball, and like turn like second one of his turn, and tried to triple red die me into a surf, and it did not go well.
Perfect defense. REBBL Imperium is a good time, by the way, if you want to try to get involved in the beta test. It's super cool. That is a very deep kick for the Nurgle, which is non-ideal for them, considering they have 4 turns to score twice.
Do the elves have kick? Or was that just very lucky?
That was very lucky.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got my full team this time, and I get to play Necro. I'm looking forward to it. True keeps tipping me to win, so I have to keep winning.
Nope.
And by that I mean start winning.
Nobody needs kick. I don't use kick.
Certainly not in the elves. I think we're going to see a foul on this Rouge piece if I had to put my money on it.
That reminds me, one of my favorite 1-minute themes that I've seen so far is, I think it's Liam Colston's team, where he only takes skills that have a foot in the icon. I think it's really funny. It's like tackle, dirty player, kick, because there's a foot in them. You can take them. It's just so funny.
That's pretty great, really.
Only foot skills. That reminds me, I need to accept my playoffs ticket for that.
Getting a run up. It's going to be a death.
The way we've seen this go so far, it's going to be a death into a send-off.
Well, it's an injury. Could be a serious one.
It's not a send-off. Yeah. It's a removal, though, and the Nurgle kind of desperately need that.
I mean, there's no way Nurgle, if we're being realistic, score 2 times in 3 turns against elves.
No, but I'm trying to be optimistic, not realistic. But that's what they need now. At this point, it's more likely just about... as the Nurgle player in this situation, I would probably just give up and try to get some injuries and see if I could score a touchdown on somebody that needs like 3 SPP. And if you don't score who cares? It's game 1 of the season. Like, worrying about touchdown differential right now is not necessarily something you really have to care about. But, you know, it's always something that should be on your mind a little bit in a league setting. Although, to be fair, as Nurgle, touchdown differential is never a thing that matters. Like, your touchdown differential is always going to be lower than everybody else, so it doesn't really matter too much. I entered minors playoffs with a touchdown differential of -1.
You did, yeah.
So there's another KO. None of these are SPP though.
If that had been Mighty Blow, that would have been a Cas. Just saying.
And that would have been SPP.
And potentially removing, you know, an amazing piece if you had gotten a series in.
This was quite a swingy game. Like, the first half was very like, oh man, this is not going very well for the elves. Mostly because they failed a few dice rolls, and then kind of suddenly it turned around very quickly. Shows you what Blood Bowl can do.
T-Self described it as a scramble, and I think that was an accurate representation of what Arch was doing. Yeah,
fair enough. And then the second half was very much more controlled for Arch. So.
It's true. There are a lot of Nurgle teams in the div, so it might come down to a Nurgle TD differential.
That's true. There's like 4, isn't there? There's like 4 Nurgle teams in the div.
There are 4 Nurgle teams now.
I really like Div 2B, the one, or 1B, sorry, the one that I'm in. 2B, whichever.
It's
the one
2B.
I'm in. Yes.
You're not in 1B.
There's no 1B.
Exactly.
2B. The race spread is pretty good. Orc, Vampire, Dwarf, Nurgle, Khemri, Chaos Dwarf, High Elf, Dark Elf, Lizardman, Skaven, Lizardman, Necro, Chaos Dwarf. Like, there's a
9 out of 14 claw teams in my div.
Nice. 2B or not 2B?
One of them, though, I can't really...
Yeah, you are one of them.
I am, for once. I'd be sadder if I had a Lizard team in that div.
Although I play, I think I play the 2 Chorf teams in week 2 and week 3, and like week 3 I think is Arabi's Chorf team, and we all know how that's gonna go.
Yeah, Arabi signed up to be a mentor today, and I still have mixed feelings.
This is how you win. Take Mighty Blow. Block everything.
I mean, speaking of not taking Mighty Blow, or rather not taking it in this case, I suppose, it must be noted that the Nurgle do not have a good like potential candidate for replacing that killer. They have
I was-
zero
I-
mighty blow.
I was talking about that, yeah.
Oh, were you? I'm sorry.
Well, it turns out that, like, I was saying, it was annoying because it's really hard to Nurgle. You only have 4 Pestigors, and you tend to get them in very specific.
Oh, what?
That's a beast injury.
Beast injury on a 1 in 9. He fails to reach.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's only insult at this point because the beast is fine. But
Is that a MNG?
no, I think it's just a badly hurt.
Yeah, it's just a badly
Yeah,
hurt.
it's a 3.
Yeah, what I was saying.
It's just super funny.
You only have 4 Pestigors, and they all tend to be very specific, right? You have a killer one, you have a ball carrier, you have a sacker, and then you have one where in Red Joker's case, it's like a guard piece, but it could also be a surfer or another killer. So if any one of them dies, you don't have an easy replacement because you have to build up a brand new replacement from 0 in like every single case because you only have 4.
Oh, and a dub skull.
Bonk.
What a game.
It was a weird game, but it was a fun game.
Nurgle can still score. They have to do a couple two GFIs into a handoff to a Nurgle warrior in one Nurgle warrior GFI.
Yep. It's
Easy game, easy life.
not like the hardest thing. It's not the easiest thing, but you might as well try it because it's.
I mean, first he's got a power blotcher, so
Well, he's gonna do it on Thought Ho Rotma because
he might just be going for the pass then.
it'll level him. If he scores with him, it'll level him, and so you might as well give it a shot.
Yeah, he chain pushed the ball off of diving tackle there, which was a cool play.
It was, yeah. We were just talking about other things. It was the sidestep
Now
diving
he can
tackle.
do a pass instead.
It was sidestep diving tackle, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So you like had 0 chance.
Failed the first catch, but let's try again, and we failed again.
I love the Nurgle warrior catch animation when they fail. They're just like
Hop, hop, hop. Oh well.
like way behind where the ball actually is, and then it just kind of tumbles to the side.
Yeah, that was a really good play down here. We didn't talk about it because we were distracted, but sidestep is always a thing you need to pay attention to. You can, it's not like a free go wherever you want. You can fill up the right squares and make sure your opponent still gets pushed
And
somewhere you want to.
the game ends on a snake.
As it started.
Yeah, it's true. Terrible MVPs for both teams. I don't think Arch needs more leveled linos. I mean, it's not bad, I guess, but it's not really what you're looking for.
He just took block, which is
And
fun.
Matthias the Week took dirty player, so now he's got 2.
More dirty player, more better.
So yeah, Fear and Bloating succeeded in 44 blocks, gets 8 KOs out of it. 8 KOs out of 19 armor breaks and 0 Kaz is a thing, sir.
Yeah, that's. I like how that's 0 injuries inflicted from all the mighty blow claw, but we got like 2 from fouls.
Fouls and a dodge. I think one of them was a dodge.
Yeah, so the Nurgle not getting the kind of removals they wanted to, certainly, but it happens.
Have you flipped to
sometimes.
the dice rolls yet? Because I want to ask you what you think the Nurgle's successful armor rate.
I didn't flip to it, or I did flip to it. It is 38%.
That's what I was like, I feel like it was pretty bad, but it wasn't pretty bad. It was extremely bad.
Yeah, especially with claw being a thing.
No, this is
You're right.
Bloating.
I see. Yes,
their own armor because you roll your own.
I hate the dice log for this game. It's so bad.
It's bad and it just misses half of the things anyway. But yeah, sustaining 13 breaks on 21 rolls is a thing.
When you're mostly armor 8 and 9, yeah. Oh boy. 50. Hey, regen was average 50%. This dude, it's just.
I'm sure that's cold comfort for
You're
the
welcome.
Red Joker.
Oh dear. The KO rolls for ArchXL were really good. 7
He had a babe,
successes.
so 7 out of 77% is still.
It's still above average, but yeah, it's hard to get average numbers when you only roll 6 to 7. In this case 9, but in a normal game you don't roll 9 KO rolls. So it's hard to get close to average with very few actual dice rolls. So it's probably not.
We normally
terribly
go straight
different.
into the second recap or the second review, right?
That's what we did last year. If we want to do that again this time, and by last year I
Cool.
mean last
Put
season.
up the screen so we don't spoil the result that definitely everyone has already seen.
Absolutely. Let's go take a look at a game from Div 2A.
I don't know that I've ever watched a Blood Bowl game and thought this was optimal play. Everyone's constantly scrambling.
Pretty much. Nobody ever plays
sure
perfectly.
Getting into the game.
I mean, at the end, like, I'm certain everybody has played that game where they feel they played it really well, and even if they watched it, they're like, I liked everything I did there. I guarantee you, there's something you did that could have been done better. Like, I don't think there's ever been a perfect game of Blood Bowl played, unless somebody specifically only ever rolled sixes and POWs, and then just, here you go.
There are some coaches that I watch and like their play does seem like very technical. Like they just looked at it and they're like, this is clearly like the right choice. Like I think Gerber plays like that a lot of the time, and yeah, like.
But there's always like even if it's something incredibly tiny, there's still I can't imagine there's a game that's actually been played perfectly. Even if they're very technical or what have you, it's still very hard to make the optimal play 16 turns in a row.
Yep, and then we have so for the next game to set it up a bit, we have Orcs versus Chorfs, a very killy Chorf team versus a pretty pitch control-y Orc team. A game you would normally think would go pretty strongly in the Chorf's favor, I would think. There could be some surprises, certainly. They can lose a lot of their hobgoblins to line blocks from the smattering of Mighty Blow that's usually on Orc teams, but this Orc team isn't actually that killy.
Yeah, it turns
that said,
out
this is a Chorf team with 0 bench currently, so that's a little dicey.
Turns out Orcs are a little weak to the sort of Claw Mighty Blow gameplay. Just one of their big strengths is kind of block armor 9, and it turns out Chorfs have
Chorfs
that.
were down a Claw Bomb, so that is a big deal, certainly.
It is, but he still has one and then another Claw Mighty Blow. I am paused right at the start of setup if you're ready to go.
Yep, all right, go ahead.
3, 2, 1, go. The Orcs have a Babe. The Chorfs still have 4 rerolls, despite us yelling about it for 3 seasons.
Yep. We've been covering Mr. J for a very long time.
I think Mr. J has been in every division that we've covered. Like, he just followed us the whole way
I don't know
through.
if it's strictly true, but it's pretty close to true.
I mean, I think it's been 3 of the 4. This is the 4th time we've done this.
Really? Jeez, we've done this 4 times.
Yep. My hard drive is very full of video now.
4 rerolls does let you greed blocks, and I'm sure that's the rationale, but I think Chorfs generally just get to greed blocks simply because they're
the number of games
they're not really rerolling much.
of his I've watched that just hasn't used the 4 rerolls is very high.
Yeah, most of the time you just don't get to use them. First hit with a Mighty Blow piling on.
And we start the game with a KO.
Not bad.
Which is certainly
Pretty good
fine.
result.
Yeah. It's a removal when your opponent has no bench and it is a dirty player that's off the field.
WrestleHob taking a Strength 4 Mighty Blow guard tackle piece to the ground. Not a bad trade.
There's so many skills on this team. Professor Chaos's Orc team went from like a very standard block guard all over the place to suddenly strength ups, which is certainly cool. We got a Strength 5 Black Orc. We got a Strength 4 Blitzer.
Kind of surprised he's not blitzing the guard Hobgoblin. Kind of got in his own way there if he wanted to do that. Might have been a nice way to fish for another.
Yeah.
Also, it kind of looks like he's just not blitzing. Yeah, not blitzing.
Yeah, I mean, I find myself in that position a lot too, when like your killers are slow-ish. If you did blitz him, suddenly you're really close to the Claw Mighty Blow piling on guy, and you have no way of defending him. It's just
Chorf's
probably not
immediately
worth it.
using one of those 4 rerolls to reroll a hit on the Strength 5 Black Orc with the horns.
You watch.
Blitzer. Not getting anything.
This game, he is going to use all 4 rerolls, and we're going to look dumb. Because that's how...
4 rerolls each half. Oh, Chorf's getting real up in some Black Orcs' faces. This could be a bit dicey.
Every time I say anything, people immediately prove me wrong. I think.
Oh, that's a foul. Okay.
I think the general life advice is don't listen to anything I say.
Yeah, that was a 9+ foul, so not the best, not the most likely to break, certainly. Trying to punish that piling on the line, but not really.
We immediately commit the entire team to the orcs, which like it's risky, but it could pay off, and if it does pay off, it pays off really highly. But it could also backfire really hard, so we'll see what happens.
Speaking of which, Grodd is stunned. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna run to the washroom while this punch fest plays out.
You're sort of outstrengthed, but you have enough guard to like maintain the line, and your Claw Mighty Blow will remove them more often than their just Mighty Blow will remove you. But you're giving up a lot of blocks, so a little of this, little of that. It's basically just throwing players and say like, well, we'll see which one of us comes out of this. I leave it to the dice. But this is literally a straight line of orcs. This is really funny. This is just 8 orcs in a line. The Papa Nasty School of LOS just moved up a line. And the Chorfs are matching it. This is so funny. It's just a line of Chorfs and a line of orcs. Like, here you go. Let's just punch each other one for one. Play a game of Red Rover. There we go. Chorf's evening it up with a KO on an Orc Blitzer. The line of offense. Line of orcs. Yeah. Oh, hey, some real tactical play now with the Chorf's bringing a player around the line. It's not a straight line now. There's one hobgoblin on the other side of it. This is the best game ever. I love it so much. And now the orcs are going to punch back and move 1 square forward. Yes. Now you block you and go forward, and you block you and go forward, and you blitz you and go forward. Like,
yeah, I mean, it turns out going all mans against orcs is not a great strategy.
Well, no, there were 2 turns in a row where literally the entire Chorf team was lined up against the entire orc team in just a straight line of 9 players. Just 9 players in a straight line, 9 players in a straight line. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Chorfs can bully a lot of teams like that, but orcs are not one of them. Orcs have the guard to really deal with that sort of strategy.
Yep.
Also, I got chips, so I can do my best Viking cop impersonation.
Oh, but, God, you're going to annoy everybody.
Without the charming accent.
You need to be more Spanish.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I feel like there are many charming accents I could pick.
Yeah, but
so
I mean, that's Viking Cop's charming accent.
If he wants it. I don't know what it would accomplish, but he could chain push the ball backwards, I guess. He could chain push the ball into a place where a bull could hit it, actually.
He can, yeah. With strip ball, in fact, but it doesn't particularly matter because that's a thrower. But it's we chain push him here, and then the bull can go like this.
Yeah, and that's what he's gonna do. It is a oh no, it's not. I lied.
Orc cube. You can apparently you're allowed to eat the chips as long as you pretend it, as long as you try to do the accent. Man, I'm gonna have to turn off skills or I'm not gonna be able to see what's going on here.
No, it's great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players in a rectangle. Just so everybody, this is beautiful. This is a work of art right here. Look at this. This is a 12-player rectangle with like 2 little extra orcs. This is not the most tactical match in the universe, but I'm so glad we watched it. This makes me so happy. Hey, there goes a Chorf. Yeah, want to buy large fireball.
I mean, the tactic was clear. Click on player. Can player block anything? If no, move player to a place where he can block something.
And we'll see which one of us comes out of this. And in all honesty, like, on average, the Chorfs should remove more because of the Claw Mighty Blow, but their blocks are going to be harder because the orcs have enough guard to keep up with it, and they have more strength. So, like, the blocks will be harder for the Chorfs, but they're more likely to remove a player. So, like, it could potentially go either way in this sort of slam into each other play, and it looks like it has gone the Chorf way. Or, I mean, the orc way, because the big thing is we've got this Claw Mighty Blow Chorf knocked out, which is the biggest deal. Here comes the Bull Centaur.
So this is the sort of turn that Chorfs were hoping the orcs would have, where everything is just a boat down and they don't get any knockdowns. It's not really what the Chorfs need, though.
No.
The Chorfs really needed to hit some stuff.
That's not ideal for the Chorfs, that having to spend a reroll there and it's still not accomplishing anything, especially with the Claw Mighty Blow Chorf, because that's how he gets back into this game here, is beginning to even up the removals. And that turn is not how you accomplish that. Well, the Chorf, the Orcs can actually like make some serious forward progress here if they want to, because they have a pretty easy time of knocking down all the players that are in the way.
KO on a Bull Centaur is a pretty big deal.
About 3 seconds ahead there, champ.
1,000, 2, 1,000, 3 Mississippi.
Perfect. There's yet 2 of the 4 rerolls. 4 turns left.
Pro once again working, once again getting nothing.
There have been, I think every reroll so far this game, including pro ones, has been used to try to like quote greed blocks, and every single one of them has failed.
It must be said, that ball is less safe there than it would be over here. But
it's not
that is a very based cage.
There just aren't enough Chorfs to do anything about it. Like, sure, the cage is based, but like it's based by hobgoblins.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. There's aren't enough Chorfs left standing for it really to matter. But
like, yeah, cool.
It must be said, you could have been a little safer.
he could have blocked. He can block the cage corners, but then he doesn't have a way of like sacking the ball because there just won't be enough players to do it. Like, yeah, cool.
Going for a foul here. That's a little cheeky, given that you're down numbers.
In my experience, this is not how orc games go, especially against Chorfs. In my experience, you lose your entire LOS instantly, and then you're sad for the rest of the game. But then again, this is a pretty developed orc team. If you can make it to this point without any like major damage, where you have 4 block guard black orcs, it turns out you can like outbash basically anybody. But for the first while, they're really slow to level, and for the first while, when most of those black orcs don't have block, they're so vulnerable to just getting even like one-died or uphilled sometimes. So like if you can, and most of the time, you know, you'll lose a player here or there as you're going through, but if you can make it to this point, to where Professor Chaos is without having to like replace too many guys, where you have those ridiculous black orcs that are all block guard, then suddenly you can outbash basically any other team. Turns out 4 armor 9, strength 4. That's a double skull. Pro fails.
Why would you pro that?
I don't.
Or did he already use his reroll? He already used his reroll.
Nice. That wasn't an accent. That was just a mouthful of chips. I thought the deal was you could eat them as long as you did an accent.
I don't follow your rules, man. How was that for an accent? I don't actually do accents very well at all. It's my brother. I spent so long getting rid of my Nova Scotian accent that I just can't adopt any of them anymore.
You never really had much of one.
Not by the time you met me. When I did
Like
when I was
high
younger.
school?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did. It was mostly like a young teenage thing. I grew up around like Acadians and people from Cape Breton. Well, not grew up around. My family was entirely Acadians and people from Cape.
I never really had a strong one, but a few words slip in now and then. And we have... This is basically orc time now. Like, the whole field is just open for the orcs to do what they'd like. Most of the Chorfs are either based up, about to get surfed, or too far away to be relevant.
This is orc time.
Well, I mean, to be fair, unless we knock over this Bull Centaur, he can two-die the ball real easily, because he has break tackle.
Nah, not anymore.
He still can. Not anymore.
He couldn't 2-die, he could have 1-died.
Well, no, you could have two-died until that blitzer moved next to the ball.
Oh, I might be ahead of you again.
You are. The orcs just filled a GFI and have rerolled it. And now there's an orc in the way, screening off that Bull Centaur, so he's pretty unlikely to go for it.
Yeah, it's probably where the blitzer should have gone. He didn't really need to do those GFIs, but it also doesn't really matter.
Not anymore.
Gonna take a Claw Mighty Blow hit on this Fend Wrestle lineman. Getting nothing for it.
It requires a
Guys, he
GFI.
might use all of his rerolls.
Oh, that is a third greed reroll for the Chorfs, and a third greed reroll that doesn't result in a knockdown.
Third 2-assist foul on this orc. Armor continues to hold.
I like how the hobgoblins look around sneakily before fouling. Look left, look right, kick the orc in the junk. Although I suppose it's all the fantasy lore, Warhammer fantasy lore, has always been very unclear on orcs. In 40k, it's very clear that they're a fungus, and sort of thus genderless. But it's never really been determined one way or the other what the deal is with orc reproduction in fantasy. Although I suppose in Blood Bowl, the orc cheerleaders are like female-ish. But it's hard to describe Blood Bowl as canon.
I don't want to live in a world where Blood Bowl isn't canon.
Well, it's specifically not canon. Like, it's very clearly listed as an alternate universe where instead of warring, they play football. So it is, like, by definition non-canon, or at least alternate universe canon.
I would describe them as ponderously breasted.
Fair enough. Emily recently got a boatload of succulents. Immediately put googly eyes on all of them and has now drawn pictures of each one of them in her notebook. Just so everybody's aware of what's happening to my left.
Emily is such a dork.
My favorite one is there's one on like a pot that has like sort of he's a palm tree thing in a pot that has like sort of pineapple-esque like triangle ridges on it, and she put eyes right above one of the ridges so it looks like it's a big frowny mouth. Quality content. The Chorfs got like the vast majority of their players back, which is certainly good for them.
They also got a stun. I think the first stun of the game.
If you really want to. Okay, hang on.
I want to see Emily's doodles.
I need to show them the angry pineapple plant. Okay. Let me put up the... We can ignore the setup momentarily while I do this. Here's a large version of me, and here's a plant with an angry face on it.
Okay.
Okay, let's watch Blood Bowl now. But yeah, there's how many up there? There are 11 plants like that with googly eyes on their pots on a shelf above the desk to my left.
6 of them.
So now the orcs are up 1-0, and we're going into the Chorf drive.
Dorfs get a touchback, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, now you don't have to worry about trying to pick it up on a Bull Centaur. You just give it
They
to
also
him.
got all but one of their players back.
Yeah, I mentioned
Elects
that. Yeah.
not to block along the lines.
When the orcs are set up in the 3 across position, or like the space between them like this, you can get a whole bunch of 2-dies if you really want to.
Yeah, blocking straight on like this really limits your number of blocks. That's a randomly based claw piece.
I don't know what he's for. Well, he's guard. I mean, we could be blitzing.
For an assist, because you're blitzing with the horns. You're blitzing with
yes.
Turtle, and you're hoping that Gorefang Eatspleen does not roll a knockdown next turn, so that you can claw palm him in return because this is stand firm.
I forgot Turtle had
follows
horns.
up. That's right, because he's gonna pile on, of course.
You were ahead. I forgot Turtle had horns.
Yeah.
And here's the piling on. And just a stun. Orc armor holding up so far. So in return, we get to punch that claw Chorf, but we don't find a knockdown.
Which is what the Chorfs were hoping for, certainly. But I think we're going to see a blitz coming on this piece as well.
No, I certainly would be targeting it. Otherwise, you're going to eat 2 claw Mighty Blow hits next
I
round.
don't know that it would have stood up Rurast. You could have fouled with Rurast. I guess it's on Thick Skull, though, so your odds of getting a removal are pretty low. Is this a 3-die? I think it is. Yeah.
There's the 3-die. We find the POW. We are going to Juggernaut the Stand Firm. And then pile on, I imagine.
That was a natural armor break, so we had Mighty Blow for the injury.
Nothing.
A 5 into a 6.
Hey, it's better.
Oh, he does still go for the foul, but he does it with the Wrestle Fend. He could have done this with the rookie, and I think that would have been better. And is punished.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that it wouldn't have been better to just do it with the rookie guy instead. Either way, it was bad because it didn't do anything, but we could have had the rookie sent off instead of the Wrestle Fend. Wrestle Fend is kind of cool. It's a very distinctive put him on the line player. Here you go. Either you don't follow or you get wrestled.
They're just trading off, piling on. Hey, the Chorf's got a removal.
This is kind of how you expect you'd more expect it to go this way if they were trading piling ons, because one of those piling ons says claw and the other one doesn't. So you'd sort of expect the Chorfs to get more removals if they're just trading piling ons, but it didn't really go that way in the first half. But in the sort of base up all mans line versus line style of play that we saw in the first half, whoever gets the removals first kind of wins, because it just suddenly snowballs, right? You can get more easier blocks because you have more players or more strength or more guard or whatever. That plant's name, by the way, is Palm. Like Paul, but with an M. P-A-U-L-M. You're welcome. There's also, like, what is it? It's a crisp something? I don't know, there's some succulent with crisp in its name, and I called it crisp to fern. I'm very pleased with that one.
We had a bunch of succulents last summer, but Montreal is too damp, and we were keeping them, a bunch of them in the kitchen, where obviously there's like steam from when we were cooking, and they just died from being too wet.
Yeah, the last
turtle getting removals from the floor.
The last succulent Emily had, she killed from watering it too much.
Yeah, it's really easy to do with succulents. We have many, only like a third of them have survived. A little guy here, look at the little cutie. Mine don't have googly eyes though because I'm an adult.
Emily went to the dollar store and bought several sacks full of googly eyes, only to come home and realize she already owned googly eyes. Like, that's a thing that happened.
That's the most Emily thing I've ever heard. Yeah, actually, the Fowlers, I was going to say the Fowlers are kind of, especially after the first one failed, the Fowlers were getting a bit greedy, but you were fouling a niggled player, so I understand the desire.
It's a niggled player who is also, like, Claw Mighty Blow, piling on horns, like... It's so tempting.
Yeah, just like straightforwardly most of the Chorf's firepower at this time.
I mean, I would foul him. It's like when a War Dancer is on the floor. You foul them every turn, regardless of if it's like an 8+ or a 6+ or whatever. You just do it. Even a stun saves you a lot of effort or a lot of headache.
Wrestle once again taking down a strength up piece.
There are a lot of things with googly eyes on them in this household. Most of the fans have googly eyes on them, like the salt and pepper actually, shakers.
Yeah, your house is very googled.
There's googly eyes on my microphone. I don't know if you can see them. Hang on.
I don't think I can see them. Oh yeah, they're very small.
The really small googly eyes, they're right above the volume knob.
Oh shit! Did he use? Oh, I have to go back. Did he use 4 rerolls last half? I don't think he did.
He didn't use 3 of them.
Shit.
And they were all greed rerolls that all did nothing. Like all of them were rerolling a block that did nothing.
Well, he just had to reroll a dub skull. So.
My cat does not have googly eyes, but we could put googly eyes on the box the cat likes to sit in.
Casual 3-die with the ball carrier.
Easy. Why not? I mean, it's a 3-die. It's pretty unlikely to roll triple skulls.
Yeah, if you tried to put googly eyes on Melon, it would not end well.
No.
For your extremities. Chorfs do have a based cage currently, but they all have stand firm, so they're just kind of physically in the way.
Yeah, it turns out it's kind of, and it's going to be really hard to sack that bull centaur because strength 4 is a thing.
Going for a cool surf play here. I like this. Chain pushes turtle.
Yep.
So he gets turtle to push into this guy, so we can push him up.
And we also get a piling on hit on turtle while we're at it. This is a really good play by Professor Chaos.
Gets an injury. Real nice.
From the surf, you're ahead again. Bonk. Injury surf.
Alright, whatever.
Yeah, that's a really good play. That could potentially have resulted in 2 removals from 1 block, which is kind of neat. And now the orcs are physically in the way of the Chorfs. This is kind of like the first half where we just had a straight line of orcs, but now it's a diagonal straight line of orcs. We are branching out in our strategies.
Alright, so we're gonna try to punch a hole with the ball. That's not a hole. That's not even like a little bit of... No, we're just blitzing with the ball carrier, you know. Having fun isn't hard when you leave an easy 2-die on the ball.
Yep. First we knock this hobgoblin down.
To assert dominance, because last time he wrestled him to the floor, and that was just unacceptable. It's actually only a 1-die. I think you can't get a second assist in there. Oh no, it is a 2-die.
Yeah, you just
it's a black orc.
Yeah, you blitzed the black orc with the GFI bigger on the back. That was a reroll.
Push skull into a dub skull.
Yeah, it was a reroll to try and make sure that we get the knockdown. And then we rerolled it into a dub skull, which was certainly unfortunate.
Do you know what this game has, or this game has taught us, Ben?
Don't reroll things ever.
Rerolls are incredibly overrated, and you should just drop them. They're bloat. They just make you roll dub skull. Or not get successful greed. This is getting starchy.
There hasn't been a reroll. I don't think there's been a reroll this game that actually accomplished anything.
He had a chance to reroll that. He wasn't going to do anything else with his turn. He's got 3 rerolls for 3 turns.
Yeah,
He had a chance to finally have greed. Be successful.
Yeah, this is, well, it's a little starchy, but all the orcs have to dodge to sack him, and either you're dodging with a black orc or you're doing an uphill. So
you can 2-die the frenzy piece and free up the plus strength blitzer who can get down there, I think. Or you can just do this.
The problem is either the bull centaur can blitz himself free or he has break tackle, but as of right now the blitz is the better option.
I mean, you can just do both.
Well,
even a push is good enough for you to just
break tackle away. Yeah.
Dodge out, yeah. That makes it a bit tougher, but not a lot.
If you get a knockdown, it becomes very easy to score.
Oh, okay, yeah, just went for it.
We find the knockdown, and now we can just break tackle to victory.
And we do.
So now we are...
I mean, you rolled a 6, so didn't even need it, but...
We are now tied 1-1.
I skipped some animations, so let me know when you're back at the play.
Okay. I will skip some cheerleaders. And then we will see what the KOs do. The orc KO comes back. I thought it stayed out, but the animation was slow. And the claw Chorf returns. The 2 hobgoblins are still out. So the Chorfs are down a couple players because they're down 4. They had no bench. But they do have both claw available. Not that it really matters. We've got 2 turns for the orcs to win it here.
I mean, orcs can 2 turn.
They certainly can, but I mean, it doesn't matter who comes back for you as the Chorfs. You're not going to get very many Claw Mighty Blow hits if you get your Claw Mighty Blow guy back. What I'm trying to say.
True.
Yeah, the Orcs can 2-turn, and they actually have a really good chance of 2-turning here, honestly. The thrower does have pass. He is a thrower. And kickoff return is going to let him deal with pretty much any kick that happens here and still get into a reasonable position. And since there's very few Chorfs left, oh, and we even get a high kick.
High kick.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's a move an extra square. It is a good kick for the Chorfs. Unfortunately, the Orcs have caught it, so they don't waste any movement.
No, my the apparently kickoff return happens before the kickoff event, so I was kind of confused what was going on there. But yeah, there are very few Chorfs, so the Orcs can like block down the line, and then they can move forward into basically whatever position they want for a 2-turn and have their scoring threats like really well protected. Because there just aren't enough Chorfs to get in the way. I mean, it's not really respecting a 2-turn, I guess. Like, you could have put these guys further forward. But
I mean, there's nothing you can do to defend against a 2-turn with 4 players.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Like, he could have put them further forward, but it wouldn't have changed much, in all honesty. It may have made his turn 16 easier in terms of who you could blitz or whatever, but it turns out movement 4 Chorfs are pretty slow, and you can either put one on either side of the field or put them both in the middle, and either way, one of them isn't making it to where you want it to go. I feel like we might see an actual Orc pass. And here comes a blitz on one of the scoring threats. We do re-roll it and we find a knockdown. We can mark up the other one if we follow it. He is not going to.
Needed a knockdown there, so it was a bit risky.
We do find it though. And is this the Orc pass we've all but nope. Well, there's the reroll gone. We do make the GFI, which is going to allow this to be a quick pass instead of a short pass. And we get it in the hands of Morknast, who's going to try to blitz his way through with a 2-die and then double GFI. We are
easy game.
We didn't find the knockdown, so we're going to have to dodge out, but we make the dodge and both GFIs and make it 2-1. That could have very easily have been a 1-1 tie, because there was a 3+2+2+ to roll there. Not incredibly likely to fail, but not incredibly likely to succeed either.
A 3+2+2+ is like a 50-50, I think.
It's very close to 1 anyway. So that could have easily been a 1-1, but we make it a 2-1, and the Orcs pull it a victory. Poor MVP for the Chorfs there on a injured goblin, but he's going to pick up Dirty Player. Pass is a good skill. It just turns out you don't want to rely on it for Orcs because you're passing at Agi 3. But when you have it, it's great. MVP on the Blitzer doesn't really accomplish much, but it's better than going to a line arc. 52 blocks, 44 blocks. The Chorf's unable to get any removals, I think was the big story of that game, right? 44 blocks, 2 KOs. Whereas the Orcs had 52 blocks, 8 KOs, and an injury. That explains a lot of it right there. Shall we? Well, we're already in 2. Do we want to look at Div 2?
Yep, let's do that first.
So take a look at some results. Fallen Wonders and Murderer's Row. Amazons took out Murderer's Row, who I don't...
It's either Undead or Necro. This is a zombie.
Yes, but I don't remember which one it is.
They are Necro.
Okay. Taking a Murderer's Row 2-0.
Yep, decent MVP for the Amazons, terrible one for the Necro. almost netting them a level 2 or level 3 rather dirty player.
Necro getting a lot of blocks and a lot of removals. 5 injuries inflicted, but the Amazon's still pulling out a 2-0 win. So, kind of what you'd expect there against like Bashy team, Agi team type game. Bashy team punches elves.
Though Necro doesn't usually have a ton of tackle. It looks like they might have just gotten some early injuries that kind of snowballed, but not in a way that let them win. Crazy good SPP game for 0 score from the Necro. They got 11, 13, 17 on 0 touchdowns. Not bad.
It's worth noting that I got MVP there.
You did? Pork shorts.
That's me.
Looks like... Oh yeah, the Fallen Wonders failed 66% of their armor break, or their armor rolls, which is certain. They made up for it by being really dodgy, passing 80% of their dodges, which is exactly the sort of stat you want to see on Amazons.
Free reroll on literally all of them, other than tackles, but
Well, I mean, you'd still expect it to be 66% reroll or no reroll.
That is true, depending on whether they're at G4 or not. And then there is the Cantankerous Cretaceans. It's not crustaceans.
It's not.
See you, T-Self. Enjoy the cast. It'll be up on YouTube, certainly. If not tomorrow, by Saturday. So we had Lizards and Skaven. We were debating watching this one, but we felt in a 2-2 Skaven versus Lizard match, it was going to be them just scoring at each other.
It was probably like Lizards 2-1 grinded, but the Rats 1-turned, or something similar.
35 blocks, 46 blocks. Lizards had the ball the vast majority of the time.
Lizards getting outblocked by Rats is a thing.
Yeah, well, the Rats, that's interesting. I'm not entirely sure how that happened.
That's a fucking thing.
But the Lizards had the ball for most of it, so this was like very much Rat style. Like you get that one turn where you steal the ball, and then you probably score next turn, and then you just go back to playing the game.
Pretty classic.
6 KOs, 1 injury versus 6 KOs and 2 injuries, so pretty even despite the block differential.
Lizards do have more armor, it turns out.
Skaven sometimes have claw.
It's true, and I think Razzlestorm does. So then we have Fogmire Fenbeast and Reality Kings.
Yeah, Superfed continuing the sort of score at all costs play style he has been known for with these Kislev, where you just run up the score every time. And he has done so here with 3 touchdowns. Anger getting MVP. Skink MVP, leveling him, but he's also injured. I think it's just a badly hurt, though. Picked up diving tackle for it. 3 passes, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. That's a Superfed game if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and just 6 injuries inflicted. Just bashed the hell out of the Lizards. The Lizards sustained 8 casualties that game. Looks like Superfed basically pitch cleared them, and then they finished it up by pitch clearing.
Yep, and a lot of, I imagine several 2 turns. Probably 3, based on the 3 passes, 3 catches, 3 touchdowns.
29 SPP
so much
for
SPP.
Reality Kings? Yeah, 29. That's a hell of a game.
That's a really good game for Superfed. The Lizards got some, although I think it was almost all on Skinks. I think 2 on Asaurus. Not really the kind of, as long as he didn't suffer any damage, it's not a total loss, but it's not really the kind of game Lizards want.
Yeah, it looks like the Lizards had a chainsaw and it made all of 1 roll, which is why I don't love chainsaws against Kislev. I don't know if this was a send-off or not, but it's just impossible to really defend a chainsaw against Kislev. They can always just, get a pop-in at it. It's dicey, certainly. And then we have a team whose name I'm never going to say versus the Rowdy Rebel Rousers.
That thing.
Yeah, that thing. High Elves versus Nurgle, a 2-2 score. That's pretty unexpected in a Nurgle versus High Elf game. And you would certainly expect Nurgle to not be able to score 2 touchdowns versus High Elves. Looks like they did inflict
doll.
Thank you. It does look like the Nurgle got a good amount of injuries. They got 12 breaks into 2 KOs, 4 injuries, one of which was a death. certainly not bad. It looks like the High Elves also dodged or received fouls enough to sustain 6 casualties, so taking a lot of damage, which might explain the 2
It looks like well, yeah, I think the elves probably just, I think they just kind of scored at each other, in all honesty. Like there weren't enough elves to really stop the Nurgle from scoring, but it turns out high elves can just pass the ball and score fairly easily if you don't position your Nurgle, your stink, in really good spots. And with 2 touchdowns and 12% ball possession, it's either like a scoop up and score if you happen to sack the Nurgle, or like 2 turns basically.
Yep, and Nurgle having hidden AV10 doesn't help, given that they passed 93% of their armor rolls. Admittedly, you're not really expecting a ton of damage unless apparently you're Arch, but
yeah, like if you look at the Rowdy Rebel Rousers D6, several of the dice are single digits. That's the kind of game you want to play as like a Nurgle or Dwarf team or something like that. Like almost all of the dice rolls you even bothered to make were just armor. There's certainly a lot of going for it, surprisingly. But
12 GFIs, but I mean that's almost certainly how he managed to make it to. You don't score twice as Nurgle without doing a few GFIs, you know.
No, but like
five dodges, he kind of elfed it up a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, that would have been interesting to take a look at, actually.
Yeah, looks like there was some shit going down, certainly. And then we have Oath Blow versus Cogs of War 4, Norse versus Dwarfs. Norse pulling out a 1-0 win.
Oh my god, those blocks.
Dwarfs can be a tough match for Norse to deal with if the tempo doesn't go their way, but it looks like Oathblow just kept up the punching all game long and managed
72 successful blocks is a very large number of blocks.
Admittedly, Frenzy does a lot there because Frenzy blocks count as 2, so you can kind of cheat a little bit, but
it's still a lot of blocks, especially when the dwarves also got 44, which is like a normal number of blocks for a bashy game. So like a normal number of blocks and an insane number of blocks is an even more insane number of blocks. It's a very, very punchy game.
It looks like maybe the dwarfs were trying to draw the Norse into like a scrum, but then the block dice maybe just kept going the Norse's way. They kept getting the knockdowns they needed. Cool. Have fun, Z. We'll try to predict that match before it ends because I do kind of want to call that and start calling more of these going forward. Good luck. I know T-Self is covering it, so.
Yep. Yeah, that's, and there were very few both downs for the Norse. There was a lot of pushes certainly, but not a lot of both downs, which is what would result in like taking more blocks and like losing scrums, as you mentioned in the sort of Orc Chorf game, is when you take those both downs and nobody goes anywhere and you get hit back. There weren't very many of those for the Norse. And then Thick, Rich, and Creamy and The Secret of My Success. I heard that zombies are incredibly violent in this game, getting a couple Black Orc injuries or KOs right off the very start. And that probably contributes quite a bit to the 1-0 victory that Thick, Rich, and Creamy took over The Secret of My Success. 21 armor breaks versus 3 is a pretty serious stat, along with 58 blocks for the Necro versus 35 for the Orcs. That's certainly a Necro-favored line, with 5 injuries, 2 KOs versus 2 KOs. So similar numbers of ball possession and that kind of thing, but I feel like the Thick, Rich, and Creamy were just able to out-block, out-remove the Orcs, and then the Orcs don't have much of a backup game plan if they lose too many other players, kind of similar to Dwarves. Slightly better, because they have, movement 6 and a thrower that they can kind of try to use as a backup plan, but in a bash matchup, just going down players, especially when your players are the guard strength 4 type, makes a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it looks like just an utterly brutal match for the Orcs.
Solo Vexer picking up the MVP, so we are now just under 20. We're 18 SPP away from.
Though it must be
Legend.
said, the Necro had the armor of the gods.
They certainly did.
Yeah. Anyway,
and
interesting game for sure.
Yeah.
Shall we do some predictions? Yeah?
I mean, I guess this is what the leaderboard looks like currently.
I guess. Some people have wins, some people don't.
Yep. Fall has 2
Fall has
wins.
2 because they played a game early and I hate them.
Yep. Okay, so Greenskin Brawlers and cantankerous creates and
I've lost
lizards.
my pen.
I lost my pen too lately, and I don't know where it went, and I'm kind of sad because I like that pen. Good story. So we have the 1750 lizards. They are missing a Saurus, but they have some crazy skinks, like the multiple strength 3 skinks somehow. Multiple strength 3 block skinks, for that matter. Versus Professor Chaos's orcs.
I've been informed in no uncertain terms that it is not my pen.
Oh, I see.
Are we calling Fear and Bloating versus Nurgle FTDs? Oh, that's Div 1.
Yes. We're calling Cantankerous Creations versus Greenskin Brawlers. So 1750 lizards with some ridiculous skinks versus 1870 orcs with some ridiculous orcs.
Lizards are orcs are a tough matchup for lizards traditionally. The blitzers are really good at skink hunting. They've got the speed and the strength to go toe-to-toe with lizards, and the lizards are missing their best Saurus.
However, they have 2 block strength 3 skinks, which kind of eliminates the skink hunting plan.
I mean, not really.
I mean, well, the blitzers are not going to be able to get easy 2 dies on them, and they have
It's
block.
true,
And they
and
have
it's going to
block.
be it's impossible to actually shut down Mickey Smith, of course, because he is Agi 4, movement 9, sprint.
I think I want to give this to orcs, and I think I want to do that mostly because of the sort of guard advantage, right? There's the lizards are Downosaurus, so they have 5 strength 4. The orcs have 4 strength 4, but all of those strengths also have guard. So like the lizard strength is going to be a lot harder. They actually even have a strength 5.
They also get inducements, I think.
The lizards do.
Have.
Oh
no, the lizards don't, because the lizards have 2 loners, so they're at 1870.
So dead even.
They're identical to.
So
yeah. The orcs can shed 20k though.
Doesn't really matter. It's 20k. It doesn't get you anything. I would like to give it. I would like to give it to the orcs. They have basically literally even strength with the lizards, and they have more guard. And they have actually, it's a good point that Professor Chaos made, is that there's a strength 4 tackle, mighty blow, block orc who can skink hunt those strength 3 skinks. So I think it's orcs for me.
It's a scary lizard team though. It's only got 3 guard.
My big thing is it's basically even on strength with the orcs because of the strength ups, and the orcs have guard and the lizards don't.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
Fogmire, Fenbeast, and Fallen Wonders already happened. We'll talk about that next week. Then we have Felwith's Coadadal and Rouge's Gallery, which we have been.
With the caveat that I think that there's a very real chance that the skink just says skink bullshit and it's 2-1 for the lizards.
Fair enough. We've been finally informed that the Rouge's Gallery was just a typo, but I'm going to choose to believe that it's actually just Rouge's Gallery. So, continuing. Man, there are so many red pluses on this team.
Yep.
Anyway, it is a Chorf team. And we have a 1980 Chorf team and a 1720 High Elf team. The High Elves are missing their thrower, and they're missing their catcher, their strength 5 catcher for that matter, but they still have the 1-turner.
Oh yeah, they got the crap kicked out of them, it looks like.
Yep.
Still got their natural 1-turner. They're down their strength 5. Is that armor bust new? No. Right, because this is
Neat.
the niggled, movement busted, and now MNG'd.
So they're actually 1930 after the loners, right? And the Chorfs are 1980, so they're going to get basically a babe, is the only inducements that are relevant here.
Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, man, it's tough. I think the Elves have, like, the 1-turner is such a massive thing against the Chorfs, because the Chorfs just can't really stop that. And the multiple Agi 5 players are disgusting. I think it really depends on how well the removals go for the Chorfs, right? If the Chorfs like go on offense first and just go bonk, 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 remove 3 players, then suddenly the Chorfs are just gonna win that game, because there's no bench for the Elves. But if that doesn't happen, then I think the elves win. So I think I'm gonna go with the elves. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a tie, just because of that one turner. Like I feel like a 2-2 tie or like a 1-1 tie is pretty easy to happen. But
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna go with the elves. We can't predict ties, so I'm gonna go with the elves.
Yeah, and I will predict the elves as well because I think they're gonna win.
Cogs of War and Murderer's Row. So we have the Doc M's Necro, and we have O Revert's Dwarves. So it's 1680 dwarves versus some, but they do have a death roller. They have a piling on death roller. Dwarfs. It's a piling on block death roller. Yeah,
It's pretty good.
I love him.
I mean, the death roller is good against Necro. They can quick score though, so it does make it a bit dicier. Though I think they can. The dwarves are going to be able to get a bribe if they want one. Do they have a bribe stadium? They do. Yeah. So they do have a free bribe either way, but
well, they have a free bribe. They're home, so they have a free bribe. They're
that's true.
They're missing one player though, so they will go to whatever the cost of a rookie Longbeard is, 70k. So 1750. So they get 200, or they get 210, which is pretty significant. And they're probably going to want to grab themselves a bench of some sort because they're going to be losing the
attrition game.
Well,
I mean, it's a good thing that the Doc M is going to get a free bribe because I don't know if he's going to keep his dirty player on the pitch. He's got 3 dirty player zombies.
Yeah. The dwarves can get a bribe and then probably a loner or a star player like Boomer or something.
They
cheap.
get a free bribe. Remember, they don't need a second one.
They could get a second one though.
Why would the dwarves want a bribe against Necro?
For the death roller, in case the Necro quick score, and you just keep him on again. Death roller, death roller.
No. That is a lot of zombies. It's probably too many zombies, if I'm honest.
I mean, the Necro have.
You could probably cut some bloat here. They've got 15 players. 3 of them are dirty player. Like I like, maybe 2 dirty players and the kick, but like at this point, you're putting like guard or dirty player or kick on the way. You can't put kick on the line if you want to kick, but you know what I mean.
I pick Necro. I kind of want to pick the dwarves because of the death roller, but they have no bench. The Necro have a massive bench.
They're down 2 guard. Yeah, this is going to be a rough game for the dwarves.
Yeah, the dwarves are going to have, and they don't even get loners for those or anything because they'll get 1 loner. But yeah, I mean it's going to be kind of rough. The runner is actually surprisingly good, but the Necro can quick score pretty easily. They have some gross wolves like piling on claw wolves to try to make if they remove literally 1 player, they're suddenly up players because the death roller goes away. It'll be real easy to quick score with a movement 7 white, movement 8 agi werewolf. Like it, I feel like the Necro just have most of the things going for them in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that is a good runner, though it's no vamp runner from the playoffs.
Ekron Runanera.
It's pretty good. You got used to saying his name, I guess, in that one time you had to cast it.
Mm-hmm. Thick, rich, and creamy versus Rats against Teen Stars.
Necro versus Rats. An interesting matchup. The Necro can keep up with the Rats pretty well, so it can be kind of tough for gutters. Werewolves are decent at hunting them down. They usually have Mighty Blow Tackle. Well, one of them is usually Mighty Blow Tackle, so can be a challenge. Jimmy Burritos, Thick, Rich, and Creamy, does have a Mighty Blow piling on and a Mighty Blow Tackle.
If I recall correctly, I think that's a doubles.
Oh, from El Padrecito?
Yeah, it is a doubles.
What more could you want?
He was thinking about Juggernaut.
Yeah, it's not bad. For like better surfs and things like that, and to get rid of Stand Firm being a problem.
Yeah,
and Wrestle actually too. It kills.
And because Frenzy is, it's like even more valuable because it's on Frenzy.
Yeah.
You can force the Stand Firm pushes anyway if you want to like make sure you don't get stuck in an area. You can cancel out wrestles to keep going with a second attempt. Like
saying he could take guard on a werewolf is the most orc thing I've ever heard anyone say. So you're in the right racial domain, I think, Professor K. It's like very orc Dorf. I don't think you take it. I don't think you would put guard on your super killer. He hasn't even taken dodge. He took piling or jump up for the piling on. So I think he's committed to the this is my kill piece.
The Skaven are missing one of their storm vermin.
It's true that Necro often does have the problem where they will need more guard. Like if they don't immediately get a numbers advantage, they can quickly become overwhelmed because as a hybrid team, they're kind of spread thin in bash matchups. But between Dirty Player and Mighty Blow Claw piling on, they can usually get it. So their lack of guard isn't usually too sorely felt, and he's got 3. So.
I feel like 6 Mighty Blow, including 3 Mighty Blow Tackle, and 1 Mighty Blow piling on,
two Mighty Blow piling
on, 2 Mighty Blow piling on, one of them being with Frenzy, and one of those Mighty Blow Tackle being with Frenzy, are going to be a lot for the Skaven to handle. I mean, the Skaven get like 500k.
Yeah, and I mean, Skaven with 500k is a terrifying prospect. I mean, you're probably going to see that Strength 4 Claw guy. Does he have Claw on his own? Razzlestorm does have his Claw Mighty Blow.
He has 1.
But not his Claw Mighty Blow piling on. Or no, he doesn't have a Claw Mighty Blow. Claw Palm Holland is 2 SPP away from piling on. He is missing his Juggernaut Horns one, which is the Harry Styles is a real beast.
He does have his Josh Clutcherson, the sacker, available. Do the Necro have sure hands? They better with this many players. They do. Their one ghoul has sure hands. Also movement and fend. So like the sacking opportunities are fairly difficult, honestly, for the Skaven. And at movement 8, he can have a pretty easy time getting away from the gutter runners even. Man, even it's so hard because 500k is 500k and it could do so much. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
My head says thick, rich, and creamy. My heart says Ratsy and Steen Stars. So let's.
I think I'll pick whatever you don't. So
all right, let's go with. I was going to say the same thing, but you're making me pick. So I'll go with thick, rich, and creamy.
Okay, that's good. I think honestly it's like 60-40 for the Necro, but I gotta back my old div cover.
Yeah, I think this could easily be a really, really close game. It could go either way really easily, and I'm interested to see what happens there. The Secret of My Success and Reality Kings. So we've got Superfed's Ludicrous Kislev, and they're 1900, and Rusty Sea Butter, Russellford Sea Butter, and his orcs that are down some player. They're down a Black Orc and they're down a Blitzer.
Oof. And Superfed's team is made for killing or for fighting other pitch control teams. Though he's down. Superfed lost 2 catchers last game.
Like dead or
teams. Well, Team Squirt is AV busted, though I think he's probably going to keep him around because he's a beast. And it looks like Money Talks is MNG. Yeah, MNG to only, but he is down his movement up like 1 turner and his blodge, one of his blodge step guard catchers.
He's still got 4 guard, and they're all on players that are pretty easy for him to leap with, including Toad of Toadhall. Is a pretty monstrous player with blodge, leap, sidestep, and guard. Like you can just kind of, here you go, this is 2+, put guard wherever you want, and then it's super annoying to get rid of. And then sacking opportunities. Although we are missing the movement catcher, like you said, Team Squirt is a pretty big loss.
So he's down a guard. He still has 3-4 guard. It's not bad. He's got his wrestle strength up piece which is perfect for taking out the you wish it had tackle, because I know the orcs have the blodge thrower.
It's a blodge blitzer with plus agi and strength.
Wait, that Professor Chaos carries on?
No, it's the Secret of My Success. Wrong team.
Oh, right. This is
he doesn't have a thrower. He has a
because he hates them categorically. Yes.
Yeah, he has and he's going with the Steakmittens school of orc carrying, which is get a ridiculous stat up blitzer and carry on him instead.
Really, you're gonna claim that as your own?
No, I'm just saying that's what I do with orcs, because every time I've played orcs, I've gotten like an agi 4, agi 5 blitzer and just carry on them instead.
So the orcs have the orcs have 2 more guard down here that we're citing. Okay, so the orcs are definitely out guarding the Kislev, but they're gonna have a pretty limited. They're gonna have no bench. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you get 2 loner linemen.
It's 100k, so they'll be at 1690.
They do have sure hands, but they don't have. Oh, I see. Okay, so he carries actually on Decatrus, which is the lineman, and then he passes or hands off to solo Vexer if he needs to.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
going to be tougher.
He built an orc thrower.
Decatrice is easy pickings for HD Love because he's a strength up, wrestle, lino. But solo Vexer's a bit more of a struggle as he is a vampire with blodge.
I think the big, even if you just never stopped the orcs from scoring, I feel like the orcs are going to have a really hard time stopping the ridiculous Kislev 2 turns. As we've seen in every Superfed game where he doesn't score less than like 3 times. And it turns out even if you just let orcs run it in, it can be pretty difficult to catch up with that. And I assume that Superfed will try to stop it at least a little bit. So I think I want to go with Superfed here. Just it very well may be like a 3-2 type of game or whatever, but I think it just Superfed will be able to outscore the orcs, and the orcs won't be able to really prevent him from doing so.
Yeah, I think the mighty blow from the orcs could turn things, but ultimately the orcs have to be careful of the fouling game from the Kislev as well.
And the return mighty blow. Certainly.
It's true, but they are AV9, so there is something to be said there. This could easily be a game though where Superfed just gets like pitch cleared by all of the mighty blow from Rusty. Rusty has what, 4 or 5?
It could happen, but I feel like he's just like Superfed plays in a way that doesn't really allow for many blocks. He basically 2 or 3 turns every time.
It's true.
So it's hard to like.
I mean, that's a lot of LOS blocks. So
it is, but it's LOS blocks on players he doesn't care about that he doesn't need to 2-turn with. So like,
it's true.
I feel like I'm gonna go with Superfed. Make your time. Do you have a pick there?
Yeah, sorry, I pick Superfed. I got a ping and I got distracted.
Both blow and the rowdy rebel rousers.
So this is
Crown Jelly's Norse
Nurgle versus Norse. Yeah, Norse traditionally struggle against foul appearance. 2 foul appearance rolls with frenzy kind of makes things a little bit challenging. Crown Jelly does have the Yeti, which is something, and it is a block mighty blow strength up Yeti. I forgot about that piece.
Strength 7. No, strength 6.
Strength 6, yeah. But it's AV7 because it's AV busted, so it's the glass cannon-iest thing ever.
The glass cannon Yeti, yeah. And it's the like tentacle spam Nurgle, which is really funny.
Oh yeah, right. There it is, Atomics.
I seem to remember him playing goblins a season or 2 ago. My kind of man. Goblins and Nurgle. There's the tentacles aren't really going to come into play a whole lot. There is a berserker with agi and dodge, and like a runner with dodge. But for the most part, they're on strength 3, so it's it's a 8+ or whatever. It's not trivial, but it's not the most difficult thing in the world to get away from. Although you have enough that you could kind of stack them and get them really far in the way. But like the Norse game plan is never really to like dodge a whole bunch. At least not often. In Crown Jelly's case, it might be to Hail Mary pass for some reason. I still don't really get that.
It's fucking beautiful, don't worry about it. So yeah, the Nurgle aggressively outguard. They're definitely going to win the pitch control game. It's going to be a question of how the blocks go in a lot of cases. I think Oathblow is going to end up based a lot of turns and kind of have to navigate the series of 2+ and 2 dies he's going to be throwing to try to like clear his players off. And if he starts failing that, the Mighty Blow piling on, which there isn't that much of. There's 4 Mighty Blow, 1 piling on for the Nurgle are going to be a problem to deal with. The Norse do get all of the inducements on the planet.
The biggest thing, well, they're probably going to want to get more of a bench because they currently have 1, and they're going to lose players against the Nurgle. I'm especially worried about that Yeti. Like, sure, he's strength 6, but that's not the end of the world for Nurgle to like knock over. If you try to, and he's frenzy, so he could easily get himself into a bad position. And as soon as that Yeti hits the floor, the Nurgle will foul him until he's dead because they have a million rotters to just foul him until he's dead. And then they don't have to worry about like Claw anymore, or the strength 6. It's like 240 TV that they're going to just throw 40k zombies at all day. I'm really worried about that Yeti for this game. He might get a kill, he might get an injury, but then he's gonna get murdered. Like that will happen. The Norse are definitely gonna want to get themselves a bench of some kind. Boomer is a really cheap option for Norse to grab. He's super cheap, and he's like a block dwarf that you can just kind of throw in the line and prevent some of them from hitting one of your normal players. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think I want to give this to Nurgle. I like their sacking option in Bird. I like their ball carrying option. They've got a lot of Mighty Blow. They've got a decent amount of they've got an extra strength lying around, and I'm a little worried about the Norse ability to stay alive with the.
What are you thinking? You're thinking Nurgle?
Yeah, I think Nurgle. I mean,
I'm going Norse. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, I'm just worried. He's armor 7, which is the scary thing, right? Like, either you don't use him very much and you keep him safe, in which case you're just kind of wasting 240k, or you try to utilize that Claw Mighty Blow, and you fail. Suddenly you fail at just a foul appearance, or you get yourself. You get a push into the wrong spot, and then the Nurgle have 40k zombies that will foul him every turn from there until there either are no zombies left or no Yeti left. So that's that. Let us move on to Div 1 and look at the results. So we watched non-anime sports team versus Fear and Bloating, so we don't need to take a look at that one. Then we had Battle Brothers and Ace Trucking Co. This is Cleric's Brett's and Chorf's by somebody that I should know, Kix.
Quicks, yeah. Quicks, something like that.
QIX.
So Battle Brothers pulling out a 2-0 win, and even getting more armor breaks, surprisingly enough. They both kind of mutually pitch cleared each other.
4 KOs, 4 injuries.
Quick's got Kicks or whatever got 9 removals, and the Brett's got 8, both sustained to death.
The Chorfs ran the ball 28 yards, and the Bretonians ran it 100 yards. So the Chorfs just really the Chorfs just never really had the ball. They did a lot of blocking, but they just never really actually managed to get the ball under control. And
neither team had armor. The Bretts failed 61% of their armor rolls. Ace Truck and Co. failed 57%. So everyone just constantly armor broke each other while they were mutually pitch clearing. So.
Yeah, the Bretonians just using that speed to get away, using the pass plays they can do to just get away, leaving the Chorfs in the dust, and pulling off the 2-0 victory. Chorfs never really getting a hold of the ball ever. Archangel's Will and Nurgle's FTDs in a rematch of the Super Bowl immediately play again in week 1, and it goes the same way with the victory for the Wood Elves.
Eldril Sidewinder survived this time, so he wasn't immediately sidelined.
He also got MVP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last time I believe he was out on turn 2 or 3 after a snake.
Let's see, 4 KOs and 2 injuries inflicted by the Nurgle, 3 KOs, an injury and a kill inflicted by the Wood Elves. So they're punching right back.
Eldril cast Hypnotic Gaze 7 times. I don't know that I've ever seen Eldril survive that long in a game.
And it worked a lot.
Yeah, it worked. Worked a good amount.
Yeah.
Failed a lot of tentacles, but that's kind of to be expected. Made a lot of dodges.
Also to be expected.
Armor wasn't bad. 50% when there's Mighty Blow.
That's a lot of failed foul appearances.
Yeah, you didn't make a lot of blocks on things with foul appearance, but you failed about half of them, which is pretty bad.
It's a 1 in 6, so that's...
So Archangel didn't snake things this game was the big difference.
I think so. But he won last time too, so there you go.
Did you end up watching the final?
I still haven't watched it, actually.
It's good. It's a good example of how Wood Elves are never really out. The snakes that happened were incredibly bad snakes, and he still managed to recover. Yeah. There's only so much Nurgle can do, it turns out.
Yeah, Nurgle are they're fun, certainly, but they're one of the teams where you can very easily get yourself in a position where there's literally nothing you can do. It's just like dwarves. Sometimes you fail a thing and you're in a bad position, and you're like, well, this game's over. Rip. I guess I'll do nothing for the next 5 turns.
If you have 2 turns of just pushes and your hit stuff game is not going well, you're like, no, I guess I lose this game.
Yeah, it can happen.
There's no click ball, click end zone of dwarfing.
No, I mean,
unless you have that vamp runner.
People often forget that rotters are like agi 3, so like sometimes you can make weird plays with rotters that people don't expect, but like it's not really a good thing. It's not very likely to work. But yeah, 2-1 for Archangel. Couple passes, making that 2-1 victory over the Nurgle, again proving his superiority over Bash teams as his elf coach.
And then Grungy Desserts versus Ars Godia. Zayzeta pulling out a 2-0 win, getting a perfect MVP on his killer to get Claw, Mighty Blow, Tackle piling on. So, and actually the Nurgle picking up a great MVP as well on their plus strength Nurgle Warrior, getting a little bit closer to guard.
Tentacles.
So, or tentacles, but probably guard.
Tentacles.
First. Whatever, do whatever, listen to your heart or something.
I mean, I would take tentacles. I mean, you want
it's a very, very calm and nice Blood Bowl game.
You really want
for
both.
2-kill team. Yeah, I don't think Nurgle fare well against Wood Elves. Like, they don't really have the tackle.
No.
Sure, they've got tentacles and foul appearance, but Wood Elves are fast enough to kind of outpace that usually, and Wood Elves are often more about like handoffs and running away than they are about trying to do any kind of long pass.
Archangel also has a lot of experience playing against like sort of Nurgle teams with his Wood Elves. But yeah, like playing Wood Elves is never a game that I'm really looking forward to as a Nurgle coach. Like the only way you win it is if you kill enough elves to make it so they can't do anything anymore. And like when that's your entire game plan and your armor rolls fail, well then you lose, right? But like you're just not going to win any other way against like a good Wood Elf coach. It's so hard to do much as Nurgle there. Not to like take away from your victory. I mean, you've beaten him every time, so like I'm not trying to say anything negative there. I'm just saying it's not a easy match to play as Nurgle. It's really hard for them, despite what most people would think. I think. Right. Like you were saying.
My point was simply that people overestimate Nurgle's strength against Wood Elves. That was it. And then you talked for 4 minutes.
I like Nurgle.
I know.
Yeah, very not too much in terms of punching. Like 39 blocks on both sides, 4 KOs, 2 KOs.
Yeah, not a lot of killing. The Grungy Desserts sustained a lot of damage, which might mean that Ars Gotia was either fouling or they were failing dodges or something like that. But yeah, not really a very killy game.
It turns out getting a bunch of guards stand firm tackle guys takes forever because the Nurgle can't level. You can't level the Nurgle warriors because they can't score, and you need to get 4 skills to get to that point. And if you don't take Mighty Blow on them, they don't level. Like it's kind of a catch-20. Like sure, if I could build a Nurgle team and just instantly give all the Nurgle warriors guard stand firm, like tackle block, that would be amazing. But you're never gonna get there in the real world. They can't.
And then we have Scooby and the gang versus.
They can, but then you don't have Pesticores to do other things that they need to because the Pesticores are the team. Like it's.
All right, hard. Nurgle boy, simmer down. Versus High Fivers. So we have a Nurgle off. I think this is.
No. It's Necro.
Or Necro off is what I actually meant to say. I just got distracted by your Nurgle rants.
Al Bundy picked up MVP, which is kind of annoying because he has 281 SPP.
I was gonna say these are like the saddest MVPs ever. You've got a legendary player and you've got a kick wrestle zombie. Like 2 players you really just don't need SPP on. So it looks like the High Fivers dominated in armor breaks but lost the game in the end. They even dominated the ball possession. Broadly speaking, 56-43, equal number of blocks, but the High Fivers were definitely getting the removals.
Yep, more removals in their part,
inflicting much more damage than the Scooby in the game.
Well, players like Al Bundy will do that for you.
Could it be just that Scooby in the gang managed to 2-1 grind them, managed to 2-turn, and the Al Bundy couldn't bring it in for a return score? So yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes. Turns out 2-1 grind is a good strategy for the reason that it wins you games pretty often. And I imagine this is probably what happened here, despite the removals going that way. Regeneration working 75% of the time for Scooby and the gang as well. So on those 4 injuries, 3 of them came back. So it's not really as as many removals as you would think there. And then, yeah, so, and 100% the other way. So despite there being 5 injuries between the two sides of that game, only one of them was actually one that stayed out of the game. So that makes a pretty big difference. So the removals aren't as one-sided as you think, and then, you know, sort of 2-1 grind it. Then we have Rebellious Scions and the Pantheon Passers. I was kind of interested in this game because we've got a Dark Elf team against a Pro Elf team, which would be kind of interesting to see. So 41 blocks for the Dark Elves and 26 for the Pro Elves. Dark Elves being bashier than the Pro Elves makes sense. They're going to try to utilize their better punching than the Pro Elves. They're 4 blitzers to win the bash game, because the Pro Elves are probably a little more elfy. 4 KOs, 2 injuries, 2 KOs, 1 injury. So the Pro Elves keeping up on it despite doing many fewer blocks. A lot of SPP for both sides. Fireball was occurred during this game. A lot of pushes for the Pro Elves. Three passes that were all successful. Not surprising for Pro Elves. 1 leap, kind of fun. Pro Elves, the MVP going to a loner, which kind of sucks, and the MVP going to the blitzer, who's armor busted, but he's got plus movement, sprint, so he's on his way to being even more silly. But that is a victory for the Pro Elves.
So we wanted to watch this one, but T-Self was like, no, the game was really boring. So we decided not to.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like it was just the Dark Elves trying to outbash the Pro Elves because they are the punchier elf team, and it not really working out. They got similar numbers of removals, but that's not really what you want to be in when you're the team that's trying to outpunch the other team. Also, the Necro mirror before, there were 4 removals for one side with 3 of them regen. So like the player count was pretty much even through most of the game, I would imagine.
Yeah, that makes a big difference for sure.
And then we had Khemri do it, yes we can, and the Grody Greens. So Khemri taking it down 1-0 over Nurgle. If this is not the most like Khemri Nurgle scoreline I've ever seen, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I think 0-0 is probably the most Khemri Nurgle scoreline. Both teams are pretty good at defending other batch teams from scoring.
Yeah, it's well, any game that involves a Nurgle team and a not elf team will probably end 1-0 one way or the other.
Yeah, and not a lot of damage really. Both teams. It looks like Khemri got 3 Kaz inflicted, or no, they got sustained 3 Kaz, but it could have been regens. Khemri do have.
Yep, all of them regen.
Spread regen. Oh, yeah, all right. So,
and
regen is a skill sometimes.
And all of the Nurgles regen. I mean, there's only 1, but there were 4 injuries total, I think, that game on regen players.
They
and
made
all
100% of their KO rolls too.
Both teams just at full strength the whole time.
No, the Khemri failed 2 KO rolls, so it looks like the Khemri were just able to like successfully score on their drive, and then the Nurgle couldn't quite manage. Maybe it came down to like a failed
dodge or GFI or something.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine something. Oh, there was a failed pass too, which might have been either a vanity pass or the tying attempt may have failed there.
Yeah.
I like how there was a failed pass but 2 successful catches. I mean, I guess that's just handoffs, and then the failed pass never resulted in a catch because it just didn't make it. But still, I like to imagine that the catch worked and the pass didn't. MVP on the Sacker Pestigor, which is good because they're actually kind of difficult to level. A lot of the times you're going to be using Wrestle. And Wrestle doesn't result in armor breaks, and it's kind of scary to ball carry on a Wrestle player because they're pretty exposed. So MVPs are nice there, and MVP on a Wrestle skeleton is not really great, but he picks up tackle, so Wrestle tackle is a thing.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not exactly a credible sacking threat at movement 5, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
It turns out most of Khemri is movement 5 or slower, so.
Do they have any movement 6 players?
The blitzers are movement 6, and the throw-rows are movement 6, I think.
That's not that bad. Come on.
It's 4 players. I mean, it's the same as Nurgle.
Better than Dorf's.
They're actually the same speed as Nurgle. Now that I think of it, because the Are the Tomb Guardians 4 or are they 3? I think they're 4.
Tomb Guardians are 4 because they're one movement faster than mummies.
Right.
For that, they lose Mighty Blow and gain decay.
And you can have 4 of them, which is kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big
Yeah, the Khemri grabbing the 1-0 victory, which they're certainly pleased to see, and not taking any like actual damage is another thing that's good.
Yep.
Claw Mighty Blow against Decay, even though your Decay has regen, when those Decay pieces are important ones, is it's not something you want to think about. Like Decay and it doesn't matter, because if he's injured and removed anyway. But it's just kind of a psychological thing, I guess, right? It's a little scary to have, and maybe people play slightly more conservative when they're a little scared, kind of thing. But it doesn't actually matter in the long run. Turns out rolling an injury twice doesn't really matter, because you've already rolled it once and they're removed. Doesn't matter what it is. Oops, back to the division. So shall we predict some things for this div?
You don't want to look at the sweet leaderboard where half the teams have a win and half the teams have a loss. No ties in Div 1.
Yep, there you go. Good.
Not a lot to see there. So let's go.
According to the Cyanide client, the Zeta is currently in first place. I don't know how they tiebreak. I assume it's probably.
And he's
touchdowns.
currently playing now, so
could easily retain that first place position.
Could easily. So let's start at the top, I suppose.
Perfectly balanced.
Fear and bloating. So the Red Joker's Nurgle versus Nurgle FTDs. One of the first Nurgle mirrors. Many to come.
They're gonna have to play 3. Well, I mean, so this is High Lord Salt's Nurgle, so this is a Super Bowl player. Nurgle, and Fear and Bloating, which is the Red Joker's Nurgle team. One of these teams has a lot more Mighty Blow and Claw than the other one.
Well, that usually does it in the Nurgle mirror.
Yeah, it can also come down. Honestly, it really comes down to the Pestigors doing things. Because they're like the workhorses of the Nurgle team, having to kind of accomplish most of it. The Ball Carrier is really good for one team, and the Sacker is really good for the other. Although the Ball Carrier, like, I think the ball handling is better for the Red Joker, but the Nurgle's FTDs are better at the punch game, probably. And I feel like the punch game is more often than not what wins the Nurgle mirror.
Yeah, and even in the guard, I think they're actually pretty evenly guarded. But yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for Joker to avoid taking significant damage here. He's got to deal with Dirty Player. He's got to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4 Claw Mighty Blow, one of which is piling on. Scrotus the Unwashed is no easy thing to deal with, and he just lost his killer. So
yeah, that's a big
Joker
deal. It's hard to count out the or hard to vote against the Super Bowl runner-up as well. So let's throw some faith towards Nurgle FTDs, and I'm going to pick them. Ace, I assume you are as well.
Yeah, I also pick High Lords.
Ace Trucking Co. and ours Gotia. I don't know whether to pronounce the hard or soft T.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Arch, it could totally come down to who regens hard.
I mean, yeah, sometimes that happens in matchups, right? Like, it comes down to, in Nurgle-offs, it can really come down to who removes better, whether that is because of Mighty Blow Claw or failed regen or fouls or whatever. Like, there's a lot of ways players can stay off the field.
It's so absurd that this is a 2180 Chaos team. I mean, it's because they have a 14-man bench and Chaos players are expensive.
Yep.
It doesn't look like a 2200 TV team, certainly.
No, well, when your linemen are, 60k.
1, 2, 3, 4 Claw Mighty Blow, 2 of which are piling on. Might even beat out the Quix's team. Yeah, Quix only has 2 Claw Mighty Blow, 1 of which is piling on. Probably going to be a tough matchup for the Chorfs, honestly. They're down a Bull Centaur, I should say. They do have only 4 guard. They're going to get
they're outguarded.
500 inducements.
They're outguarded, they're outstrengthed, and they're out Claw Mighty Blowed, which is kind of, and they're out movemented. Like, they're out everything other than The only thing really that they have going for them is bull centaurs, but they have one.
They only have one, but they're going to get a ton of inducements. I don't know what Chorf inducements are like, to
Bad.
be honest. It's not really the sort of thing you're used to look. They have no bench. They're going to probably get a bench without inducements. I haven't flipped over to T-Self's channel to see what Quicks took, but
I'll probably go check it out after.
Mhm.
But like Chorf's another one of those teams where, you know, the inducements aren't incredible. I mean, there's Grashnak Blackhoof, which is like a pretty
the
good
strength
Minotaur.
6 Mino guy.
Yeah,
he's not bad.
without Wild Animal is the big thing. They have a Strength 5 Bull Centaur, which might not actually be a terrible idea. Also
No.
expensive.
But yeah, I think this probably goes the Cal.
There's the Stab Hobgoblin. He's pretty good.
No, he isn't.
And Zarg Mad Eye, of course, who is like basically the dwarf.
Zarg Mad Eye can be pretty good when you have like 70k, because it's just like,
He's-
I want a
he's
strength
cheap.
4. Yeah.
He's pretty cheap for a Strength 4 Chorf, but he's a better version of Barrack Farblast or whatever. Like, he's a Chorf with a gun that has pass and all that nonsense. It's
I mean, mostly he's just a strength 4 blocker you can throw on the line.
yeah, because he's secret weapon, so he's going to get sent off after a turn anyway, or after a drive anyway. But he's a Strength 4 you can throw on the line, not care about. He's an extra body. Not terrible.
Big chaos.
Yeah, I think I want to go Chaos there. It's too far down to play from for the Chorfs. I think the one Bull Centaur is the biggest deal for me. Like, he's just the one thing that they could possibly have going for them over the Chaos is Bull Centaurs, and they only have one of them. So
And then we have High Fivers, Uber the Noober versus ArchXL's Not an Anime Sports team. So, pretty standard Necro. They've got a crazy Wolf in Al Bundy, who is just a bit of everything. And a ton of guard and a ton of Mighty Blow. Quite a bit of tackle, actually, too. 4 tackle, so that's going to be hard for Arch.
are you looking at the wrong Necro team?
No, it's the
Oh
High
no,
Fivers.
yeah, okay, sorry, I was looking at the wrong Necro team.
Yeah, fuck.
Actually, no, I wasn't. I was looking at the right Necro team, but the werewolves aren't at the top where I expected them to be.
Oh, yeah. Werewolves don't have stand firm. That would be weird.
It would be.
So he's out his catcher, but that doesn't really matter. He's got all of his stat ups back. This is gonna be interesting.
If
I don't want to watch this.
if the last game is anything to go by, those high elves are deadly and will murder every one of these Necro players.
He's only gonna have 2 tackle, and I think there's actually a fair bit of dodge on Uber the Noober's team.
3.
No, not really. Only 2 or 3. Yeah. I kind of
The
What are you thinking?
the 5 tackle.
Before
The 5 tackle makes a bit of a difference because there's a lot of dodge on RHXL's team. Let me take one more look at that ghoul. He does have sure hands. I'm thinking high elves. I think it's pretty close. The werewolves are pretty terrifying, but the ghoul isn't really that relevant, and the flesh golems are almost entirely irrelevant against elves. They're very good against tying up low agi bash type players because the stand firm, but the elves are just never going to hit them. They're just going to dodge away. One of them has tackle, but it's like he's not really going to be able to get him in a good place with movement 4. So the flesh golems.
Are you going to
kinda
buy
relevant.
some Linos before you head into this arch? You've got a bit of cash right now. I'm kind of curious what your game plan for it is.
The wolves are certainly scary because they can keep up with the high elves. But it's only really the one player that he's terrified of, and that's sort of Al Bundy. The other werewolf.
I mean, one will only get you to 11 unless I'm bad at counting, which I very well might be. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, you only got 10 for the next game, so you need to buy 2 to get to 11 or to get to 12 for this game coming. Which you could do.
You go down to 30k,
Yeah,
but you
okay,
could
11
do
for the game. So you can have no bench against a team with a bunch of Mighty Blow and Dirty Player.
We saw how that went for him in the last game.
Yeah, you just did that, and that went perfectly fine. So fuck it, High Elves win.
Okay.
But I think it's pretty close. I think it's going to be an interesting match, and I think Uber could pull out some serious shenanigans if his Mighty Blow is popping off for sure. But if he's not getting the damage he needs, I think the High Elves are just going to run roughshod.
Battle Brothers and Pantheon Passers. We've got T-Self's Elf Union.
I can never evaluate
Elves.
the Battle Brothers. I just categorically underestimate Bretonnian and human teams. Like, I'm always just like, the Brets or the humans lose, and then they win everything and win the div that I'm in, and I'm salty. I'm just kidding, it's fine.
Those are some good blitzers, but that's kind of what you expect on a Bretonnian team, I guess.
Certainly a Bretonnian team in Div 1.
And then some good Pro Elves is also what you'd expect on Pro Elves in Div 1. The full complement of catchers, all of them are good. The thrower is good. The blitzers are good. There's exactly 3 linemen. 1770. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough
3,
call.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the Brets aren't going to have much of a bench, if any. So they get 1 loner, which is 40, so they'll be at 16. The Elven Unit at 1770. So there's a wizard available,
which is a pretty big deal because they have all of that Agi 4.
A wizard and more, because there's another. The pros are actually 1890.
Yeah. Pantheon Passers.
Let's see. I think the wizard is a big deal. The 2 Agi 4 blitzers are a really big deal, especially since one of them is Mighty Blow. I like Bretts for this one. I think. I think they're going to be able to keep up with the Pro Elves.
We'll keep it spicy, and I'm going to call the Pro Elves.
Sure. Then we have Archangel's Will and the Grody Greens. So Archangel's Will going up against another Nurgle team that is slightly less good than the one that it played last week. Although it does have the God Beast, who is certainly going to be frustrating if he manages to get him on some Wood Elf players.
Yeah. I mean, Strength 6 is incredibly hard to deal with for tentacles, as long as the beast never stupids. But Archangel is, as we've said, really good at playing Nurgle teams. And
that this Nurgle team has two tackle. It has no bench. Not that it really matters against elves, but like the Nurgle warriors are almost entirely useless against high elves. Like.
It looks like the War Dancer rolled Mighty Blow, by the way, after Strength, so that's a thing.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yeah, so now he's got a Strength 4 Mighty Blow.
I mean, I'm going to go with Archangel, and it's mostly because he just beat a Nurgle team, and this Nurgle team is like slightly worse at playing Wood Elves than the one he just beat. The only thing it really has going for it is the Beast, but if the... it's hopeful at best to be able to get that beast on a lot of elves. He's movement 4, like he's a beast. Yeah. The elves can just leave before he gets there, and if Archangel ever is in a position where he lets Lazarus Diggs put that beast of Nurgle on a bunch of his good players, then he deserves to lose the game because he fucked up real hard.
Yeah. Nothing triggers me more than the Strength 5 piling on War Dancer in Clan. Don't put your Strength 5 pieces on the floor.
So yeah, I pick Archangel.
He also played this team in the playoffs and presumably beat them as he won the playoffs.
No, he lost. He just they let him go through anyway.
Hacks. They felt bad for him. They were like, "Oh, poor Wood Elf. We really want a repeat."
We're rigging the playoffs for Agi coaches.
Collusion.
Grungy Desserts. I assume you pick Archangel as well.
I do. I believe I said so.
Grungy Desserts and Khemri do it.
Yeah. So McMackey's gross Tomb Guardians.
They're so fun. I love them. Look at those.
They're actually not that gross. They're pretty like stock.
I know, really. but they made it that far, which is fun. And there's one with block.
Apparently, Archangel has just played every single person in Div 1 on the way to the playoffs. So.
I mean, that kind of makes sense considering Div 1 gets a lot of tickets.
Well, he wasn't in you weren't in Div 1 last season, were you? You were Div 2 or something.
No,
like
he was
that,
Div
right?
3. He was my
Or Div 3.
right,
he was in
the
yours.
Super Bowl was my div. Like both players from that qualified from my div were Super Bowl teams.
How'd your game against Archangel go?
I lost, assumingly. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I lost.
I mean, I think Archangel is literally undefeated against Nurgle in recent history, so I would suspect that you lost.
I would be very surprised if I didn't lose. It's been a long time.
Okay, so back to this. Lest we waste all night. Grungy Desserts is another Nurgle team, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so another 2200 Nurgle team.
He beat me
versus
2-0.
Khemri.
Found it.
There we go. This is like one of the beefiest Nurgle teams. It's got only 2 Claw Mighty Blow, but it does have a ton of strength and a ton of pitch control. It's pretty fast. It's got a really credible surfing threat in Donut in the Hole. It's got all apple pies in all of his glory. And it's got a really, really good sacker in wrestle, tackle, strip, 2 heads, kick. So going to be a tough match for the Khemri, I think, though the Khemri do get all of the inducements ever. No, they only get like 300k. But
Only
so that's not
300k.
only 300k. So that's a wizard. I mean, they could get it up. They could get the Strength 6 Wrestle Tomb Guardian, which is pretty. I forget his name, but yeah, this is going to be a tough one for McMackey, I think. Though he just beat a Nurgle team,
But it's
so
a slightly less developed Nurgle team, I think, that he just beat.
this one. Oh, they just beat. Yeah, this one's going to be tougher simply because they've got the tools to like handle his 4 Strength 5 pieces.
Yeah. Plus, they've got really good uniforms. That white looks real sick. I like it a lot.
Yes, like literally sick. It looks like something you'd see in a hospital infirmary.
Perfect, they're Nurgle. Yeah, the Strength 5 warrior is going to be a big deal. A lot of guard. Or, well, some guard, I guess. Yeah, I like the Nurgle for this one, I think. But I would not be surprised to see it go either way.
I'll stick with McMackey. Let's keep some contested things going in here.
Scooby and the Gang and Rebellious Scions. So we've got a Necro versus Dark Elves. If I recall correctly, though, you like out armor broke me when we played, which was kind of funny considering your Wood Elves.
Oh, I remember you being really salty about that game, yeah.
That's happened. No, that was a different Wood Elf game. That was in like minors, I think, where I literally got out injured and.
Oh, that was what's his face? The guy who had the kick war dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't just out armor breaking, that was out injuring. Like he almost pitch cleared me as Wood Elves versus Nurgle. That was the one I was salty about. Anyway. So we've got some Dark Elves, including like there's a Movement 8 Blitzer, there's a Strength 4 Blitzer, and we have Scooby and the Gang, which is the Travel Scrabbles Necro, which is a silly Necro team. That's so many stats.
Yep. This is also a Dark Elf team that doesn't look like it should be an 1850 Dark Elf team.
Dark Elves do that.
Are bloody as fuck. Yep.
Well, it turns out like Dark Elves are good because you can get Blodge really fast on Blitzers, but like a Blodge Blitzer even is like, you know, like a 3 skill.
Muttley 2 is, oh god, why?
A Blodge Blitzer is like 100 something, right? Like, and you get 4 of them. Like they blow it up real fast.
Yeah, just like when you compare these two teams, it doesn't look like they should be around the same TV.
No.
So the Necro only have 2 tackle. That's a thing.
And there are
they do have
5
utter
Blodge.
filth. Yeah, 5 Blodge.
4 Blodge and 1 Raj, but yeah.
Their ball carrier is movement busted even, so it's a little harder for him to do things, though you could just carry on Muttley. I don't think the Dark Elves have strip ball. Or do they?
No.
No, they usually don't get it. Dark Elves have a bit of punch and a bit of guard in Ren Bull, but not a ton, so they're going to have to be kind of surgical. They certainly can't get pulled into any sort of prolonged punch fests. Travel Scrabble is going to just be trying to like chase down elves and beat them up. Doesn't have a ton of Mighty Blow, has a Claw Mighty Blow, which is relevant against Dark Elves, of course, but it's not on tackle, so he can't. He either has to pick knocking the player down more reliably or trying to go for damage on like, you know, less important pieces, because fishing for POWs, even with Frenzy, is not that ideal. And you can get yourself in trouble where the Dark Elves can punch you back with Mighty Blow, so you got to be kind of careful.
I mean, I think it kind of comes down to like the Necro can keep up with the elves. They're going to be able to punch the elves. What the elves have going for them in this matchup is the like elf bullshit. But it turns out that Agi 5 werewolves and like Agi 4 whites can do just as much elf bullshit as elves can sometimes.
Yeah, the 5 blodge is not nothing when they only have 2 tackle, but and then like I said, their killer doesn't have tackle, so that's relevant. But yeah, I think this goes in the Necro's favor a little.
I picked the Necro as well. And that is going to be that, I believe. That was week 1. We took a look at all the two games and did some predictions and talked about what occurred. We'll be doing the same thing again next week, but we'll be taking a look at the teams instead of looking at games. Probably won't be a ton. When the teams are this high TV, it's pretty difficult to level them, but we'll take a quick look and see if there are any new cool levels and that kind of thing. And then the week after, back into watching matches. Once again, we don't really have a good name for this sort of show yet, so feel free to continue to suggest things or tell us which one you like. I think the leading contender right now is like the Wonder Twin Power Hour. But I don't know how we both feel about that. Yeah, so thanks for hanging out. We'll be back next week. Feel free to let us know if any of your games were particularly interesting. And if you are in Div 2A, feel free to poke us if you want us to cast your games live, because T-Self is casting all of the Div 1 games live. So we won't do those.
Yeah, we might sit in on some of them, but yeah, we're not going to like steal his thunder on that, certainly.
Nope. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back next week. Until then, I've been Steakmittens.
And I'm Shadorra.